Hello, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Can you not hear me?
Well, here's the thing. I can sort of hear you, but...
That's probably through the landing.
yeah, I can hear you echoing around this place, but I can't... maybe I need to reach down under this desk and turn something.
Right.
Maybe press a button or something.
Check 8. See if 8's red. Or,
possibly.
better still, press the power button on the back and then start it up again. Let me check.
Yeah.
Do you know right, you can't hear me, can you, of course? Right, hang on.
I can't hear
hang
you,
on,
but
hang on. Right, hang on.
other people can hear you. Yeah, that's a good view, yes.
Tell you what, I'll come and fix
It's
it.
going really well. This is how you save the world, by sorting out technology and microphones. And
You're definitely jacked in.
well, it may be that I've not plugged it in correctly. That's... So yes,
Oh, it could be the audio's off, and I know what's on. Hey, we've got a viewer.
hello viewer.
Okay. Right, let me check. How about now? No.
Yep. So
Can you hear anything yet? Can you hear anything yet? No?
hey, viewer, can you hear us?
No, not them, you.
Yeah, I'm not able to hear you. Don't know whether you want to go out and come back in again, and invite our viewer to come back, or whether you want to try and sort it now.
It's Kate. Ho boys. Hello. Right, bear with us. We're having some teething issues. Right. So your audio's coming in through the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's coffee coming in from the back.
Cheers.
Right, he can't hear us. And is he definitely jacked into the right? Hello, Kate. Bear with us.
Yes, Katie. Yes, don't worry. It'll be all right in the night. Let me just check my. So we've got this. I'm into here.
Uncheck it. Could you hear absolutely anything?
No, I was only hearing you through there.
Try that.
Okay.
Mine's on the left.
Yep. Okay. Trying a different method. See if I can hear through
Right,
this.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right, it's your headphones.
It's my headphones, mate. That's what the problem is.
Are you both fine? Yeah. It's he can't hear me, you see. That's the problem.
Yeah. But no, I'm all fixed now. That's fine. That's great.
You've actually got a pair of really rubbishy headphones on the piano.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually, they're that bad, but they're better than your own. That's what's crazy,
Yes,
isn't it?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So anyway, Kate, hello. Glad you're here. Yeah, hello, Trevor. It's been one of them weeks, as you probably know.
Yes.
And Pete sailed into the studio at 8:59
Yes.
and 45 seconds.
Just swanning around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Flat out. So literally, we're 30 seconds late starting because Pete's only just got here.
Yeah, but we're all revved up.
Oh yeah, revved.
Ready to go.
I like that.
Yeah,
Revved. That's a good term.
See what I did there. Yeah.
That's what you did there. Have you noticed I've changed the seating?
I like it. It's much more comfortable.
Well,
Yes,
I've been sat on a piano stool, a duet stool, and after 2 hours of this rubbish, I can hardly move.
Yes. Yeah.
So I decided to put myself in a deluxe TGIF seat. Yeah.
Genuine TGIF seats.
Genuine seat, and I've let you have one.
You can feel the quality. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't muck it up and don't spill coffee on it, will you?
I'll try not to.
So, good to see you two. Right, should we crack on?
Yes, let's go. Now we've got quite a few interesting topics tonight. But you can tell us if you think they're interesting. But we'll try our best to get through. There's we're going to save the world. We're going to watch out for how we actually save the world.
Have you seen any of my titles on?
What?
Have you seen any of the titles I've put out on events today?
Nope. I've been ensconced in Maundy Thursday services.
Yeah. So same as. Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah, bit of that.
Yeah. Shall I give you the title I put out on Facebook?
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Here's the Facebook.
God, shock me.
The title.
Yep.
A little later than normal, Pastor. A little later than normal, Pastor has some pastoring to do. Come join us tonight where we wrong the rights and make probably completely inappropriate solutions for the failing world around us. That was my Facebook advert.
Yes, I think that
I thought it was quite a good one.
Really.
Yeah. And let's have a look at my Twitch advert. Twitch. Twitch is called... What does it say? Does it not say where it is on Twitch? Oh, I don't know. Something equally rubbish as the title.
Yeah.
Something equally as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's catch up. It's taken us 8 minutes to get nowhere. So we are here. We're now firing on all cylinders, and we've both got a cup of coffee.
Yes, we've got quite a few things to discuss. I think there were a couple of websites. I guess you can call those up if we want to look at them.
Yeah, let's get a bit closer to our audience.
Yeah, let's see.
Yes.
Good
Can
evening,
you read
everyone.
that?
Yes, good evening. Ho. Yes, something wrong with my headphones earlier, but I'm fully in to the... I probably trod on them or something. But, we're fully plugged in now. I'm going to have very hot ears by the end of the evening.
Yeah, or you can use the ones on the piano.
I might pop over and get them in just a second.
Yeah, I was actually... Revo came in before and said, hello, Anxious Hal, how are you coping, bearing in mind that Pastor Pete's not here? I went, yeah, I might have to launch on my own.
Yes.
I might have to do this on my own.
2 hours of talk. From
on my own.
Anxious L, solo sessions.
Yeah, should we take your first point then? The first point you put, let me grab this.
Yes, you grab that, I'll grab some different headphones.
Go on then. Right, so, the first question... Let's just blow this right up. Quick play. There we go. So the question is, playing video games make you less depressed? Yeah. Now that's an interesting question because video games are very much part of what... Hello Revo. Playing video games is partly what I kind of do and partly not. Let's fade it in here and go back to us. So yeah, this is the topic. Playing video games makes you less depressed. I think if you're really good at video games, then it probably works. Can you hear now, Pete?
I can hear perfectly well, too well almost.
Yeah, okay.
Somehow I'm still hearing you. I was hoping for something else, but there we are. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all
so yeah, just sort of saying,
my wire. Yes,
just saying about the depression link or the lowering depression with video games. I think that depends on how good you are at video games.
You could get depressed if you were rubbish and kept losing.
Yeah, because I'm pretty rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought. See, last week I did my very first stream on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, under my own brand. Mm-hmm. Yes. Doggo Unleashed, if you're interested.
Yes, I'm sure everyone is. So, how was it? How did it go? I didn't see it. So.
Yeah, well, it was very good. It was about 3 hours long. And,
good length, sir.
Yeah, and I was playing Vicarious Big, who's our Vicar Friend Gamer, at Tarkov. And I was a complete noob. And it was very interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think I had one viewer, it was my wife, periodically, when she could bother to check it out.
Yeah. Now I know nothing about any sort of computer games, but did you win? Is it possible to win?
Did I win? Well, it's not that kind of game, and I suppose there's lots of different types. It's a first-person shooter, as you call it, but it's quite strategic, and it's very very complex.
Do you get more points the more people you shoot?
Yeah, but like I say, it's quite complicated. Should we have a look at your little study then?
Let's look at the study, see what it says. This is from the Good News Network, which is quite an interesting site to get, because it takes stories from around the world. So you get stories that you wouldn't normally come across. Let's put it that way. Yeah, what does this say? Boys who regularly played video games at age 11 were less likely to develop depressive something or other. Depressive symptoms. I just lost it for a moment.
That's right.
3 years later, it finds a new study. So this is a new study from the University College of London, close to home. So, what's he playing there then? What do you think that is?
I'm not entirely sure. Looks like a platformy type thing.
Okay, the findings published in the in psychological medicine demonstrated that boys who played video games most days had 24% fewer depressive symptoms 3 years later than boys who played video games less than once a month. So they all played video games. Well, I suppose they could all have. It was just, you've got to play.
That's an interesting statistic. But that is an interesting, because I think a lot of people think that playing video games is a bit of a waste of time, and you should be outside, you should be off your phone, and all this sort of stuff.
Well, yes, the impression is that being on a video game makes you depressed. That's sort of a general, it goes.
Is it?
Well, because you're all alone and you're just crouched over a screen. You could be out. You could be out enjoying the.
You could be out playing football. Scenery. You could be out playing football, jumpers for goalposts. Yeah.
You could be doing that.
Yeah, but maybe
scrumping for apples.
Yeah, that's not legal, is it? That's naughty. You could be, but
depends whose apples they are.
I think the thing about gaming, and Pixel's put a question up, which I will address in a sec. But the thing about gaming, it has changed very much from when I first started playing games. You're not really a gamer, are you?
I think it's. Yes.
Have you dabbled?
It's no exaggeration to say I'm not really a gamer. I've sort of looked at games because my children like them. I can't raise any interest in video games at all.
Really?
It's a bit like it's similar, to give a similarity. On BBC Two, they used to put show jumping on the television, which was basically looking at horses' bums as they went over fences. It's about the same level.
How could you compare that to horses' bums? I don't know.
To me, horses' bums, video games, it's the same thing.
Do you know what? I've had a really stressful day. I'm really glad you turned up tonight. It's I could do with a couple of hours of rubbish and a bit of a laugh.
Oh, thank you.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think it's like that, isn't it? It depends, isn't it? If it's your bag or not. But video games have become so. I mean, I'm being someone who started playing games back in the. How old have I been? 10. Would have been 1982 when we got our first computer, which was a Commodore 64. For anyone who's watching that thinks, I know about gaming machines, that was a gaming machine back then. And that was our first computer, and games have come on absolutely immensely since then. Certainly since Pong, which is obviously the game you remember.
I had...
You have
what's now seems to be called Pong. It was just called tennis on my set, and some sort of 10 different games, in fact.
Yeah.
But it wasn't computer. It wasn't software. It was a hardware game that plugged into the television.
What do you mean a hardware game?
Well, it wasn't programs. It wasn't a computer. It was circuitry, obviously, that was doing it.
All right. Was it one of the very, very early Atari consoles?
I don't remember the make. All I know is there was a big dial in the middle.
Yeah, and you put a cartridge in it.
Between games. No, it just had these games on that. You didn't.
Oh, was it a paddle? As you turned it, the bat went up and down.
No. That was just to turn between games. You then had some sort of controller. I can't quite remember what you did with it.
What was this? Very first tennis.
In a tennis, it had some sort of target thing. So this would have been.
Tennis for Two.
78.
Released 1958. Was that about the right time for you?
No, 78 it would have been.
Oh, okay. I'm always a bit uncertain about looking at stuff. Pong, retro tennis, soccer. Right, okay. It turns to 58. 1958. That looks like it's done with oscilloscope. Arcade Pong, 1972.
Yeah, so this game that I had used the same sort of methods that arcade games used to make the games work. So I guess there were computer games, but yeah, I thought I heard that. Yeah,
Is that it?
well, that's very similar to what we had. Yes.
Yeah, so this is the arcade game Pong in 1972 on the Atari. That's what I thought, the Atari. So Atari was like one of the very, very first consoles, and this is about it, and this is about as exciting as it got. Yeah, so yeah, quite phenomenal, really.
Yeah, well.
But that, you know,
Yeah,
like I say,
the thing is, it's a bit funny. My mum watching said, but it's no good because you only win by the other person making a mistake. You know, you don't actually. There's no skill in the hitting.
Yeah.
So she thought, well, that's not very nice. So she didn't want to play.
Okay, but all I'm saying is that since games were when
They've
they
improved a little bit. The graphics have improved
a little
just
bit.
a spot.
You've got to be joking, haven't you?
But what you think more than a little bit? The
Well, people are playing against each other online now. You've got esports, which is like major, huge money that people are. It's you know, it's quite phenomenal
It's
how
interesting,
big
yes.
that business is.
yeah, I think people. It's easy to forget that it's actually quite a social thing to do, isn't it? 'Cause
It's
lots of other
huge.
people are playing.
It's hugely social.
Yeah.
It's hugely social. I mean, that's the point that Vicarious Big talks about when he's been doing interviews. Is the fact that you end up with communities. We are now streaming to a platform that is predominantly owned by gamers.
Yes. Oh, we better be careful about what I say about it.
If you waltz around on Twitch and you know if you scare off from somewhere like Just Chatting to somewhere else,
Yes.
any game you can think of that's currently
Yeah.
a computer game will be someone playing it, and you
Yeah.
can watch them,
Yeah.
and you can interact with them like you can do with us. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes, it is interesting that there's this whole subculture that you can. I guess I'm missing out on.
I think subculture's not. It's bigger than that. It's culture.
Oh, it's taking over. You think?
No, absolutely.
Are you saying we're living in one big computer game?
The gaming industry is bigger than Hollywood now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's bigger than movies. Yeah.
Well, movies are on the skids at the moment.
Well,
aren't they, with
yeah,
the-
yeah, absolutely. But it was bigger than that before after any virus turned up. But yeah, gaming's massive, and I think that I'm an advocate for it. I think it's great. I think it can, especially for. So one of the things for me is when on my channel is that I think there's a lot of people that are quite introverted who like playing games, and they're not, a bit shy, and they're good at it. And places like Twitch and Facebook and YouTube and stuff are great outlets for them to watch their some of their favourite gamers play and interact with chat on that. I mean, that's what it's about.
This second paragraph sort of takes into account what we're saying about go out and play football. It says the effect was only significant among boys with low physical activity levels. So researchers assert this might suggest that less active boys could derive more enjoyment and social interaction from video games. So, in other words, they were never chosen for the sports team. So it's that at least they get to play sports, but in the computer games. I
think there's a point there, and I think there's also some health advantages, obviously, from doing day-to-day sports, running and stuff, which is great. Adrenaline, it's certainly good for things like depression. Exercise is a great one. I know Pixel Priest goes running every other day, and swears by it. It helps. Not that she's depressed, but it helps lift mood and make you feel a bit more. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember a few years back, I used to mountain bike, and I used to love that, to get the adrenaline pumping and stuff. But I do think that there used to be this kind of geeky nerd.
Yes, image
really, for people that played games, and that has changed. So going back to the Pixel Priest saying, does that apply to girls too? Yes, it does. It really does. Gaming used to be predominantly a male thing, and now, as far as I understand it, it's fairly evenly split. There's girls, women who are streaming game content now. They're playing first-person shooters just like the boys. Yeah, and they're streaming content as well. So there are a lot of girl streamers out there that are doing that. There's a lot of girl streamers doing, other stuff as well. Predominantly, most males are streaming games, but there are. I think the other thing is there are a lot more games that have been developed for younger age groups. The study was just boys.
Yeah, the study was just boys.
Yeah, I think when you ask the question is whether that would positively affect girls as well.
I mean, yeah, the study doesn't show that. Because they just didn't study them. But if girls play, I mean, the suggestion here seems to be that they don't know it's cool. They say they don't know it's causal, so it's just that it could just be that they like video games. There's something as simple as that. Therefore, if they spend more time doing it, they're happier.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that goes without saying. If you spend more time doing something you enjoy, generally, I would suggest that would make you happier. That's an easy sum. That one.
That chap PewDiePie, who also he's got a YouTube channel, I believe. I don't know if anyone watches it, but he's been playing games for some time, and he said when he was at university, he spent a lot of his time in his room playing games. And he said, people have said to me, "Oh, you wasted your time," but he said, "But I had a lot of fun." So so he saw it as not wasting his time, but going and enjoying himself. As someone might say, "Well, you should have been socialising down at the bar or something," but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to play games. So you could say actually it was a more productive thing to do than drinking lots of alcohol.
Well, he might have drunk alcohol at the same time. I think this is leading on to a very interesting.
You might have done.
It's leading on to a very interesting thing. Streaming's been around really mainstay. I'd say 5 to 6, 7 years. It's been big, or certainly blown up quite big then. But it's been around really 10, I think, 10 years. I've only really got into it about 4 years ago, certainly from viewing it. But PewDiePie's been one of the biggest streamers on the planet. And he's got an absolutely enormous following, and that's made him incredibly wealthy. So if the argument is that,
well, for him it worked out as a career path.
Well, there are a few people that do, and actually, to be honest, if you are a talented individual who can hold a conversation in front of a camera, such as yourself, Pete.
Yeah, I should.
You should get into it, and you're wasted.
Maybe I should try it.
I should give it a go. Yeah, you'll be wasted as a vicar.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So that's it's interesting, certainly. But in the end, I suppose it's pretty obvious. But what was interesting about it that it seemed to say the opposite of what's often suggested, that video games make you depressed and unhappy. You need to get out more.
Well, I remember watching a TED. Have you heard of TED Talks?
Yeah.
I remember watching a TED Talks. I don't know if anyone else knows what that is. So if you look up TED Talks, you'll see it's like they get people who stand up on stage and talk about just about everything and anything. But they have a slot and they talk about that they're kind of professionals in their field and explain what things are going on. And I remember this lady talking. I'll see if I can find her link. TED Talks, computer games.
Yeah, let's put this up.
TED Talks, create just view. The transformative power of video games.
There you go. Yeah, I mean,
how games make kids smarter.
Would you
7
say
fascinating things about games.
Would you say that a computer? I've never played one of the sort of computer game that you're talking about, where you wander around shooting people. I guess there's a sort of story to it, is there? If you get through to a certain level, you go somewhere. You fight someone else.
Well, normally with these kind of games, there tends to be like a mission. I think. Yeah. Games are a bit escapism. Like me playing Scrabble against the droid. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you remember the microphone's quite sensitive in that studio, Pete? Just to let you know. Just to remind you once again.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, alright.
I'll just interject where necessary.
Yeah. Raise your voice. That's at the right time. Yes. Right, where were we?
You were saying... Someone was saying about droids and Scrabble. But
that was Pixel Priest. So I have a game on my phone which is absolutely rubbish. But whenever I'm waiting for the wife to get ready, I play that if I'm ready. When she says to me, "I'm ready," and I go, "Oh yeah," and she still hasn't put her shoes on, or all of those things that actually denote I am actually ready. So I'll play a game or something like that. So I play Candy Crush game or whatever. Elaine quite likes playing the Scrabble, and I think that the solitaire games, the cards and stuff.
Yeah. Yes, but they're they're a very simple form of game, aren't they? So
yeah. Well, mobile games are really big. Anyway, go back to your question. Is there a task?
Yes, is there a task or a story that you're trying to follow?
Well, the big thing on these first-person shooter games right now is Call of Duty, which is a big title, a big AAA title. It's been going for a number of years. So it tends to be a storyline in which you have to go and do certain things, and there you are, some sort of marine type bloke. But there's a new kind of genre of game called Battle Royale, and that came out with a game called what was it? Player Unknown PUBG. Player Unknown Battlegrounds. That's it, PUBG, and that came out about 6 years ago or something like that. And the idea of that is that you drop into a map and from a plane, and then you have to get to the end to win. So it's just the last remaining person survives.
In that case, you can win.
So that's a big. And every single person that drops into that is an online player.
Oh right. So
anywhere in the world, you can be playing for 99 other people. Yeah, from anywhere in the world, and you're all trying to get to that point where you're the last person standing.
Now they have games with characters from the movies, like Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
So presumably there's a story in that, or is it a similar sort of thing? Have you played that sort of game? Not necessarily Spider-Man.
Yeah. I'm not really that kind of game player.
Okay.
I'm not really. There's been a few films that have been made from games. It's actually been done the reverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's all.
Yes, I saw Tron.
Oh, Tron, mate! Back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Do you know they did a remake and made Tron 2?
Yes, I heard. I haven't seen it.
And they did a CGI version of. His name escapes me.
No, what was it? Kurt Russell?
No.
Wrong one. That sort of actor. Yeah.
He was in.
One, yeah. Come on, everyone. Who was in Tron?
He was the guy in Tron. He was also in.
But he does.
What was it like?
The one you're
Thunderbolt
talking
and Lightfoot. He was in that. I'm gonna have to look him up.
But the one you're talking about is did he play the father or something?
What, in the second one?
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't want to do anything.
What did I just?
1982, and it had
yes.
Jeff Bridges.
You see, Jeff Bridges.
Bridges.
It's all the same sort of thing.
Yeah, should we get an image?
Yeah.
Can we make that?
Put up Kurt Russell. Put up Jeff Bridges. Yeah,
there you go.
Someone knows.
Trevor Wood got there.
Yeah,
got there.
Yes.
You can have that, because by the time the amount of lag, he would have definitely got that before I answered it. So good for you, Jeff Bridges fan. So here, let's see if I find the original image.
Yeah, I've liked him in films, Jeff Bridges. Yeah.
Oh yeah, every Tron image I'm getting right now is. Oh, here you go. Oh no, every Tron image I'm getting. Yeah, I'll switch this in. Is from the latest release, and I get really annoyed about that. See, look at that. Look at that. That is a CGI version of Jeff Bridges. So there's the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get CGI versions of us.
There he is. There's the man himself.
Then if I don't turn up, it'll be what?
The man himself, Jeff Bridges. There.
Yeah, there's the man. Yes, you see.
I wonder if I put an original Tron.
Yeah, you'll probably get that. Yeah.
But no, I mean, this is an outstanding film at its time.
Well, yeah, it was a new idea, wasn't it, to try and
totally lost now.
A video game.
Kate's lost.
Oh right, let's move on from. But
okay,
have you got a picture of Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell.
Well, because I thought they were the same sort of actor. I don't think they look the same. The same sort of person. Kurt Russell. Yeah, go on.
Kurt Russell Tron.
No.
What? There's Kurt Russell. No, see now Kurt Russell.
Yeah, there he
is.
Kurt
Russell.
There he is. You see, he's almost the same person.
He's nothing like him.
No, it's the same sort of guy.
Kurt Russell, Escape from New York.
Yes.
Did you remember that? I bet you Trevor knows Escape from New York, don't you, Trev?
I know the movie Escape from New York. Yes, he looked like they said, I remember looking at him in they say, look, you've got to prepare for this because you've got to take your shirt off and wear a vest for a lot of it. So he spent the entire time preparing, just doing press-ups. That's what it looked like. It looked like he just exercised one bit of it.
Trevor knows.
He's sort of muscly, yeah. Much like myself, obviously.
Trevor knows. He's seen Escape from New York.
Yes, Escape from New York. It was a dystopian. That's what they call it, don't they? Had the bomb.
Yeah, he had to go in and rescue the president's daughter, and I think the president was played by.
Don't know.
The forger out of.
Oh, yes, that was it was on the.
Donald Pleasance. Right. Anyway, should we skip on because I think Kate's probably fed up. Kate, have you got anything specifically on your mind you would like to discuss with us tonight? We'd like some input. I think we can come up with a list of stuff, but if there's anything burning on your minds or on your hearts that you'd like to share with us, we could perhaps help you with that too.
Yes, we could save the world.
We could save your world.
Yes.
That's a novel idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's go back to the list. So if anyone's got anything that they really would like to ask, especially the genius that is Pastor Pete.
We had a sort of a royalty theme for the coming up, didn't we?
Again? The last time we did that, the show collapsed, and I went and hid in a room for 3 days.
The show did.
Yeah, I know.
You're too respectful of the royalty. But the quiz question is about. Well, we were going to talk. I just thought it'd be interesting to say, Boris Johnson.
Oh yeah.
What happened to him? He's got a job somewhere in government.
Has he?
Yeah, but he said apparently said when he was young. You know, some people say I want to be Prime Minister, and it's sort of used against them. But he didn't say that. He said, I want to be World King.
World King?
Yes. Well, he was quite young when he said it.
Okay.
And I think he's on his way. So it's interesting. So some people have that idea. I would like to be king. Did you ever think that?
I want to be World King.
Well, not specifically that. Would you like to be,
Would I like
one
to be
day
king?
I'll be Prime Minister, or one day I'll be king?
No, I never had such lofty ambitions. No, I see the question. Would you like to be a king?
Yes.
I think. Well, from my perspective, I already am.
Oh,
my world is saved. 24 books to read this
week. Oh right. Yes.
Week. Sorry, I didn't even see the next line.
Yes.
My world is saved. 24 books to read this
24
week.
books to read.
See, now, being someone who, like me, who has real trouble reading, I'm quite envious of that. So I have to do lots of watching. Because
reading books is...
Reading, for me, is definitely no-no. By the time I've got to the end of a page, I've forgotten what the beginning of the page is about. So I have real problems reading.
Because that is different. Because in the same way as...
we talked about it before,
books.
I think. Yeah.
I'm into reading books. What I find is that, say, if you're reading a novel...
Yeah.
You get into it, and I guess you need to be able to read quickly enough to do this. You can get lost in it. So once you get to a certain reading level or style of reading, you can get lost in the story, and in your mind is created the story. So therefore, it's as I wait for the movie to come out. Well,
same as.
Well, most people say. Perhaps they just be pretentious or something. I don't know. That the books are better when you get to that point.
They always say that. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you've read the book, you'll have certain images in your mind. And if the movie does it differently, you're disappointed. But so I find a well-written book, you've got to give it time because it takes longer than a movie. And but your mind can create all the landscapes, all the people that you need. So I find books really good. I don't read that many novels these days, but I always like reading anyway. Yeah.
Well, I noticed on the BBC website they've got some. I mean, interesting thing again, going back to the new kind of online technology and stuff. Have you heard the phrase TLDR?
I've seen that written. I don't know what it means.
It means too long, didn't read.
Ah, yes. No, I did know that actually. I just forgotten.
Too long, didn't read. And I it's interesting because I know exactly what that is. And there are certain things on the BBC website that says long read. So they actually have bits on there for people that want to do a lot of reading. Yes. And I'm like, I can't read. I can't read that much. Well, I probably have to read a sentence that someone puts up on Twitch 3 times before, even then I could get it wrong.
I've seen it on
too long didn't read.
Yeah, descriptions is it like a YouTube channel or something?
Yeah.
They've got a long description, but above it they put the TLDR version.
Yeah.
And they just give you a couple of sentences. They could have said, "Here's a summary," but they said the TLDR version. Yeah. So it's, yeah, I mean, I guess it is different because some people read easy. I think that maybe there's a reason that I don't like video games. Maybe the way that I think. Maybe I just wouldn't be able to do it. Well, I got to try, I suppose. The thing that I've tried is Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
Which is entirely different sort of game.
That's massive.
And it was one of these things I thought, that it was popular for a bit. I thought, it's
still very popular
now, and now it's become even more popular.
Yeah. Shall I tell you? If I have a look on Twitch now, let's go to the Twitch feed. Let's just go back to. Hang on.
I can't sustain an interest in it. I know that it's you build your own world, and it's theoretically I can see. Oh, that should be very interesting.
Back to Twitch. I'm just going to have a quick look and tell you how many people are playing Minecraft, or how many people are watching somebody play Minecraft.
Yeah, well, because Minecraft, if you've never seen it, I don't know. People in the chat have seen people playing it, even if they're not playing it themselves. They can be playing games, but that could be games that users have created within the Minecraft world that they've made. So I could see that it's got quite a sophistication to it if you.
Here you go. I'm not moaning, right? But I'm looking at our statistics, and over Facebook and Twitch, we've got 6 viewers.
Yes,
I'm quite impressed with that.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we're happy with each one that joins.
Just
so
have just have a quick look at this, you lot, and tell me what you make of this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just
going to come over here. We're not.
I'm just gonna push this across, right? Because it's quite interesting.
Okay, yes.
This guy here is live. He's currently got 200,000 people watching him play Minecraft.
Yes. How can that be? I don't know. I mean, my children all like it. I have 3 children.
Well,
of 2 different genders, split between them, and they all like it.
Yeah. Well, it's there's 32.7 million people following this game on Twitch.
Yeah. Who'd have thought, eh? Who'd have thought? But that I have actually tried. Minecraft I've tried, but I couldn't raise an interest. But you see, I'm similar with other games like that people take really seriously, like chess.
Yeah.
I have no interest in it whatsoever. So
yeah.
I could see that theoretically it's very sophisticated, and there's lots of different moves for a start.
Is it sophisticated though?
I don't know because I can't play it because I can't focus on it.
You can't see 18 moves ahead.
I can't even be bothered with the first move, to be honest. But what I always do is in chess, you can move your pawn too forward to start with. I always do that because I think, that means the game might be over sooner. If I do it quickly, I like speed. So I know experts play speed chess. I played speed chess to get it over with. Yeah. No, sometimes it can be fun if you do it really quickly. Yeah. But I couldn't play it for a long time.
No. So I was a bit rubbish at chess. I remember playing my nephew. He was about 9 at the time. That would have made me about whatever. And he started to win. And I actually started to get rather anxious at the fact I was about to be
anxious. That is,
well, yeah. I'm always anxious, but I think I did only just beat him, but I never told him that, and he won't be watching this anyway. But yeah, and I just think that you zone out.
Yeah. Now, that's a great segue back into our topic. If no
Go on.
Well, you have kings in chess, don't you?
Yeah.
We talk about royalty. The thing about there's a saying about why you need a king. I forget who said it. It was Hitchens. What's his name? Peter Hitchens, the commentator, and columnist. He said, having royalty, so you need the royalty in Britain, or having the king in Britain, because it's like in chess. The king doesn't have much power, can't do much, but it occupies squares that you wouldn't want anyone else to occupy. So and in the royal family, for example, would you really want Boris Johnson doing the trooping of the colour and doing all the pomp and ceremony? That's the point he was making.
But I suppose without a royal family, you wouldn't need all the pomp, would you?
Well, you need all the pomp, surely. I mean,
Why?
I don't know. I don't know really.
See, do you know what? It's interesting you making this. I mean, I haven't read the question.
That's the point that.
Yeah, I know.
That was the point that Peter Hitchens was making.
Yeah, I haven't read the questions that you'd come up with this week because I've been flat out. And I looked at them 10 minutes before we went live and thought, yeah, that's pretty cool topics because it's, what are we, cut free and whatever. And I must admit, a couple of days ago, I thought, do you know what? I keep hearing all of these things, these comments about how we don't need a royal family.
Yes.
And I kind of think, I actually like our royal family. Whether my uneducated mind hasn't got enough understanding of its value. And when you look at value, how can you put value on things like tradition, buildings and stuff like that? This will lead on to another topic, actually, so maybe think about this. But I thought I'm going to actually go and research it and see actually how valuable is our royal family. And I suspect that people would be surprised at what they actually do for us as a country versus what the country probably thinks they cost us.
Yes, I mean my impression is that of the royal family, particularly the Queen, as a figurehead, which is to do with the comment that Peter Hitchens was making that the King occupies this place. He doesn't actually have power, but he has influence, and you want someone there who doesn't have too much power. They've got the tradition behind them, as you say, so they can represent the country. So they're a figurehead leader. If you don't have that in place, then you have things like happens in America with the president being treated as some, by some people as some sort of god, and by others as some sort of devil. You get it tends to be it can be a divisive figure, whereas you can have the Queen sort of unifying the nation, and then you got your politicians duking it out as to what exactly you should do. At least I wish that was happening. There doesn't seem to be much of an opposition, but that's maybe at the moment. But that's for another show.
Modern times, though, is that certainly for me in the 70s, my very, very young years, when we had the Jubilee and stuff like that, people were very much more supportive of our royal family, and I think that things like tradition and stuff, which is something I quite like to hold on to. Do you remember when there was a fire is it Notre Dame?
Yes.
There's
a fire only a few years ago.
Yeah, fire at Notre Dame, and loads of money was raised for it, and of course all of the backlash from that was people saying, why are you spending all this money on a building when people are living in poverty?
Yes.
And it was like, that's a really interesting point. But
well, it's an interesting point. If you I think it's not as simple as that. There isn't like there isn't a big bag of money that's in the country and that's all the money there is. So if you spend some on Notre Dame, you haven't got money for something else. That's not how it works. I mean, wealth is generated, money is an expression of that. But it's not like the state can only spend so much money because that's all there is. Doing up Notre Dame increases the morale of the country. Entrepreneurs buoyed by this set up new businesses, maybe related to it, but maybe not. Maybe it's just it encourages the country to take pride in it. And so overall, more wealth is created. It's not like there's just one pot.
Yeah, it's like someone can only see that far in front of them.
Yeah,
because they say, "Well, I can't see the value in that," and actually, the value comes in lots of different ways, doesn't it? And it may not just be financial.
Yes, well, there's a similar sort of mindset that I spotted when I went from being a pupil to doing something else at school. Then I came back. I did a bit of science with it, and then I came back and trained and became a teacher. And during all that time, there was a move towards having. This is from the late 70s when Prime Minister James Callaghan was saying we've got to rethink the whole curriculum. We've got to teach in a different way, and there was a move towards having things taught at university, only those things that will pay the way, give you something useful. Of course, there was equal pressure the other way, but there was this big move to stop, funding things. Like, why should the government, as in those days it would give a grant, why should they give a grant to someone to do fine art degree? What is that? What does that contribute to the country?
Or hairdressing.
What? Hairdressing?
Well, now you start talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
Yeah, right, you know, you get to see it. And I haven't read the book, but I saw the program. But yeah, I see where you're going with that.
I mean, I think that I'm not. That's what I don't think that is a good thing. I think that you need all the full orbed different subjects that people study, and art is needed, and science is needed, and practical.
But
all of it should be.
I know, but look at what's happened actually over the last 12 months in the creative sector with all of these places. I don't know, being suspended. People have been out of work, and this is people that are, say, musicians and stuff like that. You're right, and I totally get it as well, and I totally support it. I've worked with some musicians in my sort of filming type stuff that I do and all that. But it is interesting that actually, you know, how do you kind of allot the importance of things? But actually, they're all part and parcel of what makes up humanity, aren't they?
I suppose the argument could be that you could say, well, that's all very well, great that you're doing all this artistic stuff. We love it, but should taxpayers' money be spent on it? I mean, that was the argument, I guess, for say, we shouldn't be funding certain courses. I mean, it didn't quite work out in that way, but the argument is, well, you're not creating wealth because you're not being useful. Therefore, you can do the course, but we're not going to pay for it. That's the argument.
Yeah, but then you can say, well, you get people in arts that, you know, obviously. Hello, doggo.
Well, what you could, the argument against it is, well, no, it's all part. It enriches society.
Yes.
So all these things are needed. Why? What are you working for? You know, why are you creating this wealth? So that you can have a boring existence, or do you want all the richness of art and sport and or other creative things? Even gamers maybe contributing all their different aspects of life.
Yeah. But actually, when
that is what you want.
When it comes from a financial perspective, it does change the dynamic. When you look at things from a financial perspective, you'd say, hang on, how is that going to generate income? Yeah. How's that going to feed people? How's that going to enrich the land? How's it going to do that? And actually, you know, you kind of forget about how's that going to develop the mind? How's that going to resolve mental problems? How's it going to do all these sort of things which are under the surface stuff that don't seem to have some sort of financial ching associated with it, where you can say, look, that's a valuable subject or that's a valuable outcome. But it is interesting.
But going back to the question, would you like to be king? It depends what sort of king, I guess. If it's the sort of king or queen we have now, where they don't have much power, you can have influence. So it's different to say a king who's a tyrant or has the sort of power that.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I read the question, I suddenly thought of you know beard, bit gingery.
Yes.
Yeah, Tudor times perhaps. Yeah, a bit portly perhaps.
Yes. Surf.
You know,
Surf, bring me my flagon.
My 7 wives. Oh, actually, no, I've only got one. But yeah, I sort of thought, could I have been Henry VIII?
Mm-hmm. I think you could. Yeah. I can see it in you.
Maybe in a drama.
Yes.
But would I? No, I wouldn't have.
Okay.
I wouldn't have anything to.
Would you want to?
That's where I'd look. I'd probably look in ancient times or past history times and thinking if I was going to be king, it'd be then. If the question was, would you be king now? No.
Well, there are advantages to be queen. We've got, I don't know if you want to look at that.
Can do. Is there a link?
Yeah, there's a link there. There's advantages. This is from this site Listverse. So it just produces.
Oh yeah. Let's have a quick look. Bring it up. It
has these 10 things. Let me just read it. The 10 advantages of being queen, and the queen gets certain special. She's treated in a special way that you might not realise.
Okay.
Unexpected perks to becoming the Queen of England. So I have to say, number 10 seems the best one to me.
Legal ownership over all dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, how
good looking like for Henry VIII.
How is that not a perk?
Yeah, well, he was not bad with the honeys, wasn't he? You know what I mean? He had they're all there for him, wasn't he? Where am I going with that? No,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think that might have been his position actually, rather than his looks. I think. Yeah, go on.
No, there's that quote. I can't remember where it comes from, but I can't remember the names of the people. But it goes something like, "So, whatever the name is, What first attracted you to the billionaire?
Yeah, exactly. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So what first attracted you to
His Majesty, the King of England. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But what does it say underneath there? In what way does she own all the
If a dolphin comes within 5 kilometres or 3 miles of the shores of the United Kingdom, it becomes the legal property of Queen Elizabeth. So look at that. How can I read that? And I'm so tired. Normally I'll be...
It's because it's so fascinating.
Yeah. The Queen's powers aren't actually limited to dolphins. She has legal ownership over the fishes royal, a category that includes whales, porpoises, dolphins and other animals that aren't fish. The law explicitly gives her the right to eat them. So any time somebody captures a porpoise or a whale, gets beached off the shore, Queen Elizabeth can show up with a fork and call first dibs.
Yes. No, we don't know that she doesn't. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
She's not been seen, but that doesn't. She would probably want to do it on the quiet, wouldn't she?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know what it.
Did you ever see that footage of when they tried to blow up the whale on the beach?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute. That was quite funny.
I think they did blow it up.
But it didn't work.
Hey, folks, don't blow up whales wherever they
are.
are.
I'll have to say now, won't I? So it was a story. I think it was in America. Yeah, and they had a whale that managed to get beached and die on the beach, but the thing was absolutely enormous, as whales are. Well, so of course, as it started to rot and decompose, it just absolutely stank out the place. So they had to figure out a way of trying to get rid of it. So they decided to try
the worst possible.
So they decided they were going to try and blow it up. I think this must have been in the 80s, maybe the 70s even. But they tried to blow it up, and big lumps of whale went everywhere, and they managed to blow a bit of a hole in it, but they just basically splattered it all over the beach, and it didn't really work in the way I think that they wanted to try and get rid of this dead whale. But
yes, it made everything worse.
Google it, Google it. Blown up whale or whatever. So what's the next one? Mandatory gifts of goblets and roses.
Look.
Go on, you want to read this one?
Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? It's a little bit small for me. So
is it? Shall I blow up for you?
Yes, that'd be much better. Yeah. Yes, I have it now. The Marquis of Aylesbury invites Queen Elizabeth of tea. He is putting himself in a prickly position. Under the contract, his family signed with King Edward VI. The Marquis, any time... Do you say Marquis? Is that right?
Is it Marquess?
Was it Marquess? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Anytime the Queen visits, she's required to sound a 2-foot hunting horn made from an elephant's tusk. Then he has to serve her drinks in ivory goblets and invite her to take the goblets home, or else he can lose his property. Now that's fair. I think that's fair enough. He says, it seems silly. What is silly? I don't say that's perfectly reasonable. It almost cost the family their property before, when King George III visited the Marquess. He told them that he'd had a nice time before declaring, "You have forgotten, however, to blow your tenure horn. When a King of England comes here and that horn is not blown, your property becomes forfeited to the Crown." King George let him off with a warning, but legally he could have taken the property. And that's not the only rule like it. The only rule like it, yeah. Other lords have to give the Queen roses whenever they see her. Or, like the Marquis of Aylesbury, they could lose their property. That's the male version and the female version. Anyway, that threw me for a moment.
Yeah, I think that is probably one of those really old laws. It's a bit like being able to legally shoot a Welshman with a longbow from Chester, and the law still exists. It's one of those, and I think this is probably one of those.
I've tried it myself. It's great fun.
Have you actually ever hit one?
No, but not for want of trying.
Oh, okay, but we do have certain things that still exist because they've just never been.
Well, it's interesting. So I've never had to blow my tenure horn.
No.
But when you become a vicar, specifically an incumbent. So that's like a permanent vicar. The way that you do it is the archdeacon of the area you're in takes you to the back of the church, and he puts your hand on the key to the door, or the handle, whatever, something that symbolises opening the door, and that legally makes the building and the grounds and all the stuff to do with it yours. Because it's from feudal law before they had contracts and things,
What do you mean, yours?
Well, supposedly, I mean, they've sort of changed the law, the way it operates slightly. So
I can understand saying if it's
the
if
vicar
it's
owns well, the vicar sort of owns the building, but only in the same way as the Queen owns Buckingham Palace. You can't sell it or do anything with it, but it's technically yours.
I was just thinking,
It's yours, but you can't do anything with it. So,
all right,
is it really yours?
Yeah, so one of those things. But yeah, I suppose that's again. This is all down to stuff like tradition.
Yeah,
I mean, you can,
and that's what they did when I took the job. That's what happened.
Okay, without going into politics, but I don't mind on this instance. Bit of politics, won't hurt, right?
Remember him?
Yeah, I remember Ben Elton.
What happened to her? Ben Elton.
Hey,
what
was that a joke? What happened to her?
No, because you got to say he and her because it's politically correct.
Oh.
I don't know what he identifies as.
Really? No. Ben Elton.
No, not really,
Ben Elton definitely. Yeah, identifies as a male. Yeah.
Oh right. Okay.
Blackadder. Blackadder. He wrote Blackadder, didn't he?
He
so
wrote
yeah.
half of Blackadder. Oh, he.
How do you know he wrote half and not 2/3?
He wrote it with Richard.
Yeah, but you don't know how much.
No.
Anyway.
I think he just added the jokes.
Yeah. So what was the question?
I don't know. It's so long ago now. What we're talking about? We're talking about something really interesting.
I'm talking about tradition.
You said you were going to do about politics.
That's right, yeah.
And I did a bit of politics.
Okay, a bit of politics, and then you went off to politically correct, right? So politics, when they bash on the door and they do the stuff and they unlock and all this, yeah, all of that stuff, yeah.
Yes.
Because politics is. I think I swore by mistake there. Sorry. Politics.
No, you said politics. I clearly heard it.
It sounded like I did. Oh, there you go. So, politics.
Yes.
So I'm really struggling to say the word politics. Politics, if you look at it now, it's weird. It is very weird, and there's a lot of archaic processes.
Yes.
And you think, hang on, how is that?
Yes, how is that?
How is that beneficial?
I don't know, but
for us now, because doesn't politics need a revamp? But if you go back, what is it, 400 years? We're still doing things from 400 years ago because it's tradition in the House of Lords.
No, yes, yeah, there were lots of strange things that are done, and but you notice you can dispense with them as soon as you need to. Like, you've got to have a reason, otherwise you don't get rid of it. That seems to be how it works. So it used to be the case that you have to be in the House of Commons to vote, and you or to take part in a debate. So.
Right. And they've got Zoom now, though, no?
Yeah. That's right. So that's been dispensed with. Why? Well, they have their reasons, but it could suddenly be done. So you could just sweep away a lot of these, and I guess they could just pass laws and.
But that really
change the constitution, get rid of the monarchy.
Yeah, but well, yeah, maybe there might be. I wonder. Actually, there could be an uproar in. How's that going to work? They can't.
I don't think they're going to.
No,
I think it would be a mistake. But
well, no, because I think that most politicians probably do support the monarchy, but maybe there's a few ultra one-sided that might not agree.
They do at the
but
moment.
I was going to say that most
just a bit of politics.
Yeah,
we'll leave that.
most organisations have things in place that really don't mean anything, but are called upon as red tape to stop things from happening, and yet. If the carrot's big enough, they can soon jump over that problem and say, "Yeah, no worries, we'll sort that out because it's beneficial to them."
Here's a bit of religion for you then.
Okay.
But it's just a tiny bit, just a smidgen. Tradition in religion.
Yeah.
When you in the church, when you take the bread and the wine, sometimes called mass or communion, there's certain things that you do in line with what Jesus said. It's recorded that Jesus said that he had the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And he lifted it, and there's certain things that you do. And I read a book by Adrian Plass, a Christian writer, who said, "What would have happened if?"
Adrian Plass.
Yeah, Adrian Plass is a Christian writer.
I've heard of Adrian Plass.
Yeah, it's quite a funny writer, but he speculated.
Is he the comic?
What?
Is he a Christian comedian?
No. He writes funny books, but he's an author. Although he does appear, he used to appear on television.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen him at a specific.
Massive guy. I've met him once in person.
Yeah,
that's a sort of seminar type thing.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry, Karen. I'm interrupting.
Yeah, great guy, but very funny in person as well. But he speculated, what if Jesus at that point had dropped the cup? So this is the covenant in my. Oh, whoops! He picks it up in my blood, and he carries on. Would we now be going? That we, when we repeat after we say we have to drop the cup, and if someone doesn't drop the cup, it's you're not doing. You're not doing
the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Would that have happened? Would that be?
Interesting
these
point.
Things get fixed, get set because they're part of something important. Like you say, the opening of the doors of Parliament. That's the black rod thing. Well, you needed to open the doors of Parliament.
Pete's audio's really quiet.
Am I not?
No. He keeps going a bit loud. I turned him down again because he was screaming into the mic. Yeah, sorry. Well done. Yeah. Is that okay now?
Is it this mic down here I'm speaking to?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I'm all right. And, so
all right, Pete. I just turned you up again.
Oh, right. I'll lean back again then.
Yeah.
It may be because I keep moving around.
Yeah.
Things get set in place, but they get set in place when they're part of something important. So you do need Parliament to open, and you're symbolically showing with the black rod coming.
Yeah.
That the king or queen isn't allowed in; they have to be let in. They can't demand to go in. So therefore, it has. They do have. There is meaning behind it, but sometimes things just carry on, as you say. Would be if Jesus had dropped the cup, would we be dropping the cup every Sunday? It'd be very messy, wouldn't it? Thankfully, he didn't.
Well, yeah,
he had a good grip on it.
I'm gonna have to go back to the subject matter we talked about before, which is Red Dwarf.
Yes, I think Red Dwarf should be mentioned every episode.
Well, I don't really want to because that's a bit geeky and culty as well, isn't it? Really. So, but there was one episode when Rimmer. Do you know which one Rimmer is? The one with the H, the hologram.
Yes, Rimmer's the hologram.
Not the other one that you got wrong last time.
Yes, but I haven't really seen it much. I've read the books.
No. Are there books?
And it was a long time ago.
Are there books?
Yes, the books, but they came after the series, I think.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting. It was I thought was interesting was by someone whose name I can't remember, but they were actually two people. It was actually two people who wrote it.
Rob Naylor. It was two people. Yeah. So was it Rob Naylor? Something Naylor.
I can't remember, but it was from there too.
I probably know someone called Rob Naylor.
They made one entity, and they wrote in the blurb of this Cherokee book, "We are a Gestalt entity." Apparently, that's the right word for doing that. When you join two people together. Anyway, yes.
Anyway,
you're about to make a point.
I was
with Red Dwarf.
So Red Dwarf, and it was. I mean, you were talking about
probably something very interesting you were about to say.
Yeah, no, I remember it. So that's. Anyway, let's see that. So yeah, very much like you said, is that Rimmer was saying that when he was younger, that the family Bible had a misspelling of the word hope. Yeah.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember this.
And it had no E on it, so there was no type of the word hope in the entire Bible with an E on it. So everything was hop.
Yeah.
So that meant they him and his family used to hop to church. Yeah.
Yes.
Because of the misspelling of the word hope.
Yes.
So I think that goes quite in line with you. Is if something had happened and that's how they perceived it.
Yes. Yeah. Because weird things do. Weird thing, part of something important. So if it happens, then you have to remember the whole thing because that's what actually happened. But they can easily be swept out of the way. The question is, do you want to sweep things out of the way? If it's not doing any harm, why not keep it? I mean, that's what happens.
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the question.
Or are you going to make a point by sweeping it all out of the way? So just going back to politics a little bit, in China, they did throw it all away when the Communist Party took over in 1949.
Yeah.
And I stayed for a little bit in Beijing shortly before the Olympics were going to be held in Beijing.
Yeah.
I was in China when the Olympics were held, but I was in a different bit of China. I couldn't make it across. But Beijing had lots of these tiny, narrow paths. It was still the same. They were built so that a horse could just fit between them. They're called hutongs.
Oh, right.
The names of these, and you could walk down them, and when people went, the tourists would go and look at these hutongs. The people were living there and growing their Peking ducks. Peking is Beijing. Basically, you have a duck in a little cage. You fatten it up, and then there's a rather grotesque way of preparing it, which I won't go into. But then they thought, well, the Olympics are coming, so they knocked them all down.
Yeah.
In the area where the Olympics was going to be, and put some nice, shiny new buildings there. They thought this is better, isn't it? You know.
So why did
I
they do
suppose
that?
they'd been 1,000 years. Well, they thought it was better to have new stuff to show off to the. There were lots of foreigners coming. They didn't want these old smelly hutongs around.
Smelly hutongs.
Well, they put some nice little parks there.
But you're right. You're right.
They had some training in how not to spit, because they used to spit on the street. Well, I imagine they still do. Spitting is a sort of a, common in Chinese culture. You spit.
Do you?
Yeah. If you got dirt in your mouth, you spit it out.
Well, there's a difference between having something dirty in your mouth and spitting it out, and spitting
on the floor. They spit on the floor.
Well, yeah. If I get. Yeah, how much dirt do they have to have in them? What are you saying?
Actually, I say that that was the reason. I don't know why they did it. But
you don't know, do you? You're kind of making that up.
I know that it happened though, and that the training occurred to train them not to spit, because these Westerners don't like you doing it. They're funny, these foreigners.
Yeah.
Which is true. It did look a bit odd. But anyway, it's interesting how things can do that. There's a different mindset there. Get rid of it. But with all that, they still kept that Forbidden City thing in the centre. That's very old.
Tradition.
Yeah, so something, even with that mindset, things did
But
survive.
it's an interesting dynamic. Tradition is part of our history, but can get in the way of change.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the thing is, I was going to go another political route. I'll just make the comment. We don't have to talk. But the thing is, I think people are forgetting our history, in that history gets taught in schools. You're still taught this history. If something's taught in school, I used to be a school teacher. I would say if things are taught in school, it doesn't mean that you remember it. I'm just saying. Lots of things teachers say. Teachers might teach you. It doesn't mean that you learn it.
Yeah. So you used to be a teacher, and I can't remember what you said 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So but the thing is, the stories about Britain are more told by the sort of stories of the heroes and the big events that you remember. Remember Agincourt and the great hero. So I suppose Winston Churchill being a hero, and the stories of Robin Hood. For all different eras, but those big stories are maybe it's just my kids, but I find that a lot when I refer to people who I think that they will know. I think everyone English knows this. They don't actually know.
Say that again. Sorry.
Maybe I should have told them. Well, some of the stories from history, of the great of these stories that you have about being British.
So you think your kids have missed out because you haven't sold them that, or is that something?
No, I just thought that they would know. I thought they would know from school and this.
But they haven't picked up on that.
No, some things that I think that I expected them to know, they didn't know. And I don't know whether I mean I don't know how widespread this is. That's the question. Are people forgetting the old stories? There's Robin Hood. I suppose going back further, there's Beowulf who fought.
And Grendel.
Yeah. The old what they got narrative. No, it's called epic poem. Which in the past you would expect people at school to study. As far as I know, they don't study it now, and things are being lost. I think that people are studying Shakespeare, but they also, they don't say. I mean, Shakespeare is in an important position because his great works have had such a great effect. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
So they've changed the language, and a lot of expressions we have go back to him. But do they anymore? That's it. Suddenly everything's lost. The culture is untethered and is drifting off into the sunset, away from me. Come back! Come back, British culture! Come on, too late.
It's an interesting point, because I think that even in I don't know, maybe this is. Do you know the phrase? They don't know they've been born.
Yes.
And you use that phrase, kids nowadays don't know they've been born. Yeah. Do you know that phrase has been knocking around for hundreds of years?
Has it? Yes.
It's not something.
Do you know where it comes from? I don't know where it comes from.
I can't remember. I could try and Google it, I suppose.
Well, maybe.
But
sometimes it's lost in the mist.
Yeah, it's like in 1600 and something. Someone came out with that phrase. Kids don't know where they've been born.
Well, that is the sort of. So people don't know it. They said that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. The old stories, the old phrases, they've gone.
But we all. Yeah, but the thing is, I always remember, Peter Kay, the comic.
Yes.
He does a skit where he kind of does this skit where he's older and he says, he does this thing like in 40, 50 years where he's at a wedding.
Yep.
So as what he'd be then, saying, get that rubbish off, get on a bit of Basement Jacks, like the modern music of his time.
Yes.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that as we cycle through decades and stuff and people grow up, I mean, what do I remember from my youth, be it like VHS tapes and, I don't know, CD players and stuff, and I know you still get DVDs and stuff now, but, Blockbusters and get videos out the Saturday night and stuff. And like kids now don't even know what you're on about. Yeah. And they don't. And it's like, what? Yeah. And yet I was the same when I was their age, at the generation above me, thinking, what are you talking about?
Yes. That's interesting.
And stuff gets lost.
Well, things do get lost. I suppose the question is,
how much of it you're supposed to retain, though?
Yeah. I mean,
and how much of it's important?
Yeah. Has there been a big shift or not? I don't. I mean, I think there's a.
Is it your vantage point that makes you think that? Do you think?
It could be. I think. My impression is that things are changing more rapidly, and that's my impression. That also that the current the sort of flavour of what it is to be British, or at least English, but probably British. English people, we think we're all there is in Britain, don't we? But the what it is to be English,
to our own,
has has changed. I think there's sort of the essence. I'll tell you what. Here's an example of it. See if the I don't know if people in chat are keeping up with this, but we'll see if you remember this. During the Olympics that were held in this fair isle.
Yeah. What, the London ones?
Yes.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah. There was a musical sort of introduction thing, which featured James Bond and Mr. Bean and all this sort of thing. And it ran through British history up to today. And it had sort of different types of music, and
it had like the NHS and stuff in it.
It was very well produced. It had the NHS, and it's interesting you should say that, but because that was something I noticed. There was no mention that I saw of God and Christianity, whereas that is the biggest formative influence on Britain. It's transformed the way it thinks. Well, Shakespeare. We're talking about Shakespeare. Has a lot of Christian themes.
Yeah.
In his works, and also the Bible influenced our language as much, what's known as the King James Bible today.
Yeah.
But Christian beliefs based on the Bible formed the system of law that we have, which is copied around the world. No mention of it. But the NHS was there. Yeah. So the question is, some people have said this, it looks like the NHS is the new God. You can't criticise.
Well, especially in the last year, eh?
Yeah, especially in the last year.
No,
but even when they did it, there was this thing: don't criticise the NHS. You mustn't do that.
Well, I think it's interesting that the political. I was thinking about this today. Actually, what was I thinking about? I was thinking about 1970s TV.
Yes.
I had a subject matter. I thought I might bring this up tonight. Maybe we'll talk about it another time. But it was about smallholders and people trying to make it strike out on their own. And it made me think of The Good Life, for the 70s with Felicity Kendall and Richard Bryars.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was thinking of that.
It was quite funny.
It was very, very good. And I remember watching that on, I think, UK TV Gold, which was on Sky TV when I had that about 15 years ago. I haven't had it for years and years and years. But I was watching that, and Savannah Bourne and stuff like that. And all of these really entertaining programmes from the late 70s and 80s. And here we go, I'm going off on one where I completely forget what I was talking about. Yeah, I thought it was alright. It's alright. Where was I going with this? Political correctness.
Oh, is that where you were? Right, okay.
Again, it's political correctness, and the way that people acceptably behaved is so unacceptable now. So if you think something or you want to say something now, And I'm not saying about the blindingly obvious kind of very racist remarks or something like that. I'm thinking about the misunderstanding about the things that you are or you're not sure if you're allowed to say anymore.
Yes.
So it makes it very difficult, I think. It must make it very difficult for younger generations. The older generation don't care, yeah? They're going to stick with what they know, and there's no point in them changing that anyway, because, to be honest, they're not interested in what the younger generation want to do anyway. I think messaging the Christian faith is out of fashion. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe. But there is a connection here. What I'm saying
is
that in the sense that it's kind of like political correctness would suggest that you're not allowed to impose something about beliefs on other people. And I'm saying, well, hang on. Yeah. And I'm thinking about along those lines that now you have to be careful about what it's like to be a bloke. And in the same sense as, now you've got to be careful about what it's like to be a believer in God.
Yes.
Now you've got to be careful about all of these things. Yeah. Yeah. And it all kind of ties in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fashionable in that sense.
Well,
I think it's more to do with people actually think, I'm not sure if I'm in this particular situation allowed to say that because I'm offending somebody.
It's more than being out of fashion. Yes, it is out of fashion. No, I agree, but I think you're right. It's more than that, and it gets to the stage where the ultimate way of controlling people is when people self-censor. So it's not that people don't have to stop you mentioning your faith. They don't have to, because you feel the pressure not to do it.
Yeah, I know you're going with this. I think you're right. Yeah.
So it's not that, and I don't think that it is some. It's like some there's either big conspiracy or government or there's not someone thinking, I must try and do this. It is in that way a fashion. But it's.
So what do you mean?
Well, it could be someone could be thinking, well, we've got to get rid of Christians and
careful.
But careful. I don't think because he wants to
Stop
take over.
Yeah.
But by the way, if you mention a certain political
don't mention the war. Yeah. Go on. Anyway.
So I won't be doing that.
Yeah.
But I can do the accent. But but you see, it will just happen. You get this pressure built up. Which and it is like a fashion, but it's something stronger than that. It's like a new belief comes up that Christianity is wrong. Now, from a Christian's point of view, that's a spiritual thing happening. So it's like an evil spiritual fight back against Christianity. But however you look at it, I think Christianity has done a lot of good for the country.
Wait, I mean, I'm not being funny here, but you are a bit biased. In the sense of because it's supportive, but I know.
It depends how you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm trying to sit a bit on the fence, and of course, like you, I'm a Christian, and I think what interested me in what you were just saying then was about self-censorship.
Yeah.
Self-censorship.
You don't need to be censored because you self-censor.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest problem because certainly for me, when I consider about young men. Not quite knowing how they're supposed to act anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking a long time ago when, how working class people would be in the sense that, they go to work, they go to factories or whatever, and they come out and they go to the pub. Yeah. And some people will always be offended no matter what you say.
Yes.
Yeah, but there is this kind of how people were, and I'm talking about even in the TV era, which 1950s onwards, say whatever, and this is how people were, and you'd have a young man now, say someone in his 20s who's got a father about my age, who kind of grew up in sort of 70s, 80s, and then of course my father, his time, he would have grown up in the 60s and 70s. How was society and how people reacted to one another? Now, don't get me wrong, socially acceptable things that we do, certainly the way that men have perhaps behaved towards women in different ways and stuff has become, but it's got to a point actually when you sort of think, I'm not actually sure what I'm supposed to say anymore. Yes. Now, I know people have taken the mickey out of this and said, look, is it all right to go out and slap a woman on the bottom? Of course that's all right. No. I know the point. But actually, there is this self-censorship because people aren't quite sure what they can actually say.
Yes. I mean, I think I've got an interesting rule with that. If you think about it, like, if you're doing something that if you did it to a man, you get thumped in the face, don't do it to a woman. So slapping them on the bottom.
It's an extreme example. It really is.
No, I'm just saying that.
But that is.
I know you weren't suggesting it.
Yeah, no, but it's an extreme example because it's the first thing that came to mind. But there is this kind of like.
Oh, that's a bit more worrying than I thought. But yes, go on. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
No,
I know. Don't worry. But I don't know. I mean, are you allowed to? I don't know. I don't.
Are you allowed
listen,
to,
I don't know.
Are men allowed to compliment women? So
yes.
Yes. Like that. So you might. It might be unacceptable to say, "Oi, oi, darling," from the
from the scaffolding.
Whatever. Yeah. But if you would it be? I went on a lot. It was actually a sponsor walk, a long walk with someone with a whole. It was a sponsor walk, so there were lots of people. But I happened to be walking with this guy who was quite a bit older than me, retired, and had that sort of gentlemanly air about him.
Yeah.
And he'd be very polite. But if he saw a woman who he thought was beautiful, he would tell her.
Yeah.
So we'd be walking along in the middle of as a woman riding a horse. "You are a beautiful young lass, aren't you?" Very beautiful, delightful, lovely to see you. And he seemed to get away with it. That they just smiled and liked enjoyed his compliment. I didn't see any.
Yeah.
I didn't see any evidence of some. Maybe they were deep down. Who knows? But I think that sort of thing is seen as unacceptable. Like you, I don't know. Is it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd like to be in my 20s now, having whatever. But I know that dating. Just thinking about that, and this came up in conversation. I don't know if it was on this program that we're doing now or something else, but we're talking about people dating.
Yeah.
On web. Oh yeah, we had this was an offline conversation we were having. And I'm not going down that route, but we had a conversation about dating sites now becoming the norm.
Yeah.
It's almost like this mechanism of people being able to speak to one another is because you do it that way. It's engineered for you. You're no longer allowed to just and you and I will sit here and banter, and take the mickey out of one another, and yet
you need a bit of bounce,
and you think actually. Can you do banter? I don't know. This is a bit deep. Anyway.
Yes, maybe it is, but that's an interesting question. Maybe it's something worth returning to.
Yeah, I think so. Should we have a look at that list? Is there no one's put any questions up?
Well, we did a couple of amusing things about the Queen. I guess we moved on from that, though, haven't we?
Yeah.
I like the dolphins, though.
Oh, sorry. Do you want that back? Sorry, I forgot.
Well,
there was 10 of them. Do you want me to carry on? Sorry.
Yeah, I flicked through and I thought there were
Let me bring it
things,
back.
but
Let me
I
bring it back. Oh, hang on. Let me
Um,
find it again. Sorry. Yeah, we'll whiz through. Might as well finish the story off, haven't we?
I thought that she owned the swans as well. Maybe that'll be in it.
Oh yeah. Here, let me bring it in. Here we go.
But dolphins, I think that's cooler than swans.
There we go.
There we are. Look, that's quite good, isn't it? Look, a staff member wears in the Queen's new shoes because I know I don't think it's as important now. But if you've got proper patent leather shoes, which they might be, you've got to have them worn in, or they really stick in. They really cut into the side.
Well, that looks like it's cutting into the right foot rather excessively. Then, you know.
Yeah. But if that's not her feet, if that's maybe a staff member wearing them in for her, that's fine because they're willing to take that pain for the monarch.
Queen never puts a brand new pair of shoes.
Yes.
Puts on a brand new pair of shoes.
No.
She simply refuses to walk around in a set of loafers before they've been worn in. So she hires people to wear her new shoes for her.
I'm just saying, I don't think she wears loafers.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think she does.
No, I reckon she wears the old Uggs, don't she? Queen's wearing Uggs now.
Yeah.
Uggs. That's what
when she's not on camera.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Queen can eat swans. I've heard that as well.
That's the thing about the swans that I also.
Yeah, I've seen that one about.
No one else is allowed to. Yeah.
I've heard the thing about swans.
Yeah, but
the Queen can commandeer boats.
Yeah, see, that would be very useful, wouldn't it? You can't get back. You say you've gone over to Calais to get some booze. You can't get back, but you can just commandeer a boat.
Listen, Kate's helped out here because that sums up what I was desperately trying to say, but can't say now.
Oh.
or was unable to say before. It's like pub banter with barmaids, not considered appropriate now.
Pub banter with barmaids, yes, I guess that's right, yes.
Yeah. See, I think that there's... See, the hospitality trade, yeah,
yes,
if you will, used to be that certain characters would be in it that actually made it.
Yeah, you're sort of playing your part.
Yeah, absolutely. There was more to it than just you were there pulling pints. There was something about having someone who was confident, who would have a good chat and a laugh with the punters, and that would be it.
Yes.
But it seems like that discriminates now against those people that can't have a good laugh and, make punters smile. And actually, some roles in this world, I think, are actually better done by people that have got the clout to hold a conversation. It's not just, I can pull a pint. Yeah, I can pull a pint and I can have a chat with the people the other side of the bar and have a good laugh.
Yes.
And that's part of what that thing is, because that's what people go in there to have a beer and chill out. So that's a good point, Kate, because I think that's the point. Is that none of that happens anymore. It doesn't.
Yeah, but I think this is my theory as to why things like, some jokey flirting with the barmaid, isn't allowed anymore, or is frowned upon, as you say. You see, I think it has come about because of what would you call it? Sexual liberation, the change in morals. You see, if you're having a bit of banter and everyone just knows it's no possible that it's serious. It has to be a joke. Particularly if you're married, say, well, it can't be true because he's married. But as morals become looser, you think, well, he could actually be trying to chat me up. It's sort of because the barrier isn't as firmly in place in everyone's mind. You think, well, this could be real. So then you start to feeling it hitting home. Oh, well, I don't like that. I'm feeling threatened here. So that's my theory.
Yeah, but I think but that can happen anyway. I mean, it's whether it's banter or not. I mean, if you are approached by a member of the opposite sex who starts flirting with you, they start flirting with you. Yeah, I think.
No, but if you think that it's just flirting. If I'm not interested, there's no problem. But whereas it became because sex outside of marriage has become the norm. It's apparently acceptable. That's why you had to have the reaction against it, which became known as the Me Too movement. Whereas if you hadn't, the Me Too movement takes something of what you would just call normal morality in the past.
Say that again.
The Me Too
movement. Yeah, I know the Me Too movement. You're saying that the fact that...
I think that what happened is people's sexual morals became looser and looser and looser. So you had to have this sort of movement about the Me Too movement. So to try and correct it.
On behalf of who? On behalf of Christians?
No, the Me Too movement was mainly to stop mainly women from getting too much harassment from men, wasn't it?
No. I think the Me Too movement, was very much about. It probably it was born out of. Although I'm not. This is another one of those, isn't it? But yes, people have been on this Me Too movement have been abused in some way or another. Women have been abused in some way or another by men. I think the view of men has changed. They're treated more with suspicion.
That's my point that I'm making. You can be suspicious of them because it's similar to something I said earlier. I think maybe I didn't mention it on here. If you move the barrier, of what's acceptable behaviour. So sex outside of marriage, that's fine. If it's moved, then you're suspicious that someone might come over the barrier. But if the barrier is right back here, oh no, for most people, sex outside of marriage, that's just a no-no. Then you're not nervous.
I don't know. I think that's slightly rose-tinted view of the world, to be honest, because I think that people have always done that, whether they're married or not. I know,
but it's not that. It's that what is accepted as being generally as being the right thing to do has changed. Of course, people always go over the barrier, which is really my point. I don't
know. You just have to watch any episode of any soap opera to see what people in the general run-of-the-mill thing thinks is acceptable.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about going back in time to a time when things were slightly different.
Do you think people actually thought different?
Yeah, I think that people thought different. Yeah, I think there was even if people, you don't get all people. There were plenty of people, having affairs and all this sort of thing, but the general acceptance of what was right and good, whether or not they actually stuck to it, was different than it is now. I mean, it is to do with it being a Christian country, but I don't just. It's not just that; it's the way people behave. Was different.
But the way that I think the way that political correctness has gone, if I can see this right, is that it was easier for people to flirt and do the wrong thing in the past more so than it is now, because of the fact that people no longer have that banter. Yeah, and get on and do the wrong thing. Maybe they do in certain instances, but has political correctness, I mean, in some way, has it worked in a more beneficial way than before?
You see, I think things like the Me Too movement and some aspects of political correctness are good things. They're correctives to people.
Well, yeah,
but they've ended up being, as you say, rather humorless, and they don't have the basis for it. This is my putting my Christian hat back on. I would say that you need, why is that wrong, for example? And within Christianity, you've got reasons why things like sex outside of marriage are wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas if the reason is no, it's not wrong. It's just that I wasn't interested at the time. You haven't got quite the same moral force. That's really the point I'm making. So it makes it more difficult to draw lines.
All right. Well, just going back to the other statement you just made about how the Me Too movement and some political correctness stuff is right.
Yeah,
okay.
And some of it goes too far.
All right. I mean, this is a great night for conversation because this is just flowing. But to me, there are certain aspects of the way things are manipulated. Again, it's all about manipulation, and we're going back to that concept of traditional things getting in the way of people actually getting things done. Yes. They were used in a method to actually, as almost like red tape, and in the same sense that everything kind of done for whatever sense of meaning can be red tape. It can be something. I can hear my doggo in there with you. He's having a shake, isn't he?
He's just now rubbing himself on the floor. Yeah,
good for him. Yeah, it's good for him having a scratch. I can hear his collar. But the Me Too movement, I suspect, on a generalised view, is probably a very good thing, but it depends how people use that in a way that I think has, as Pixel Priest has said, has changed the view about how men are now being treated with more suspicion. And is that a result of the Me Too movement? Yeah, because now, of course, I think I remember seeing a meme last week after that young lady was murdered.
Yeah, Sarah Everhart.
Yeah. And that whole vigil thing that came out of that, which was all, oh dear, what's going on now? And nothing that surprises me stuff there. But it's like this conceptual idea that women don't know who, with regards to men, who they can trust.
Yes.
And we're all a massive threat.
Yeah. I mean, the member the Green Party in the House of Lords, whose name I've forgotten. That's why I put it that way. Made a jokey suggestion. It was obvious at the time. She was going overboard to make a jokey point. She said, "I might put in an upcoming bill, an amendment to say men have to be on curfew after 6 p.m." But there was such a reaction against it. She then doubled down on it and said, "No, I am suggesting that." But it didn't seem like it, from the way she put it. It didn't seem like it was a serious suggestion. But you then, I think the reaction to that, with people on, it's not Twitter. I don't look at Twitter, but people on different social media sites reacting to it.
Yeah.
They would say things something like, "Oh, all men aren't allowed on the streets after 6. That's all right. I don't identify as a man after 6. I identify as a woman." So you get different sides of the.
It's all forms of manipulation.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, but then this is where it all gets confused in the mix, because for those individuals who do actually have issues about what they identify with regards to their own gender and all that sort of stuff, which again is another 18 episodes of story anyway, is that people use that out of context. They do it for their own benefit. So they might, like you say, if there was, for example, a curfew where men couldn't go out after 6 o'clock, then people would be doing that to circumvent the curfew. So, well, identify as a man, even though they probably do. And that's the point. I mean, it's not the greatest examples, but it's a valid point, isn't it? It's like how people manipulate things for their own ends.
Yes, yeah, and the way the Me Too movement and others.
I don't want. Sorry, just going to say I don't want to go too much about the Me Too movement on the basis that it sounds like we're getting on the Me Too movement, but they're a very good example, I think.
Well, I think they're a good example because there's something good at the heart of it to protect people from sexual abuse, and I have to say it wasn't just women. I mean, I remember it seemed to start in Hollywood, where where actresses were speaking out, but also men who were speaking out. Especially when they were younger, that they'd been abused. So it's not just a women's thing, although mainly that. And what's at the heart of it was a recognition that women should be treated with respect. So there, I thought this is a good thing, because I think that's a move in society. When I say we're moving away from things that I thought was good, that's something that I had in mind. The idea of chivalry has sort of gone. Men have. This is my generalisation. But I think this is true generally of men. Men have these two attitudes towards women. One, they're of course attracted to them, so there's all that sexual stuff. But they also have this urge, which goes with it, of wanting to protect them, to defend them. And you can see
the damsel in distress.
Yeah, but you can see it's, when someone, you know.
Well, yeah, I get, but then I think that again is partly to do with generational things, because I don't think well, maybe they do. I don't know. My
contention is I think it's a natural urge in men to protect women, that they really they can't help themselves. They just want to do it, and sometimes this is where the sort of idea of mansplaining comes from. It's a man trying to help the woman. Of course, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Hence, mansplaining.
He's mansplaining. Is that where you open your legs wide?
No, that's manspreading.
What's mansplaining?
Mansplaining is when you over-explain to the woman because you think she's stupid.
Is it?
Yeah, that's mansplaining, man-explaining.
I might have to read that.
Let me tell you, if you haven't heard this, there's an interesting incident of it. I think in the Australian Parliament, where and there's clips of this because it is an interesting response.
A
woman says, "Are you mansplaining? You're mansplaining to me."
The explanation the explanation of something by a man, typically to a woman, in a manner regarded as condescending or patronising.
Yes.
Right, go on. Sorry.
So as a woman, you won't understand this because your brain will overheat. But let me explain it to you. That sort of idea. And they, yes, in the Australian Parliament, it was very funny because the woman said she was mansplaining and explained what it meant, and he said, "Hang on, aren't you woman-splaining?" It was very funny.
Yeah.
But
but here, this is so interesting because was it last?
What I was saying was it comes from women. In a bad case, men want to protect, lead, women. They want to look after them.
Yes. Okay.
That's it.
So, but okay, and it just makes me think about, like, is it last year, year before? Certain things, like you used to have Little Britain, the comedy show.
Yes.
So they've pulled all the shows that they ever did or something because of the stuff that say it's not acceptable anymore.
Yes.
And yet, actually, if you go back in time to not that long ago, probably the 90s, maybe the noughties, you had Harry Enfield. And one of the gags that they did there was Mr. Chumley Warner. Yeah, do you remember that?
Yes,
and he said
this was the exact thing that I was sort of trying to do. A woman talking down to women.
And I remember one of the lines that says, "Look, there's a woman. She's getting into a car, the wrong side of a car." You know, what I mean, it's like,
because she's going to drive.
Yeah, she's getting into the driver's seat. It's like, oh my goodness. Or the other thing is that the expectation of a woman at dinner. All she's allowed to talk about is bunnies and kittens. Yes. Do you know what I mean? And not about political situations and stuff. All the men look at her horrified.
And I think that
it's a good joke and a good Mickey take. But I also think that there's part of it that women find that amusing as well. And actually, you suddenly say, "Oh, actually, we can't do that because that's being sexist." And actually, you think, "Oh, come on, it's some harmless fun based on how society is developed."
Yes. Yeah. Well, those particular jokes were anti-men, of course.
Yeah.
They were making fun of that men supposedly did that, and I think that they do. You see, what I'm saying is that this sort of idea of being overprotective, being overbearing to women, comes from this, good something good wanting to protect, but ends up putting them down and squashing them, and so it's actually it ends up being a bad thing.
Yeah.
But so what's needed is training, proper. As young boys grow up, they need to learn how to treat women with respect, so that which includes caring for them, and all those things, being polite, and recognising that just in general women are weaker, so you treat them in a different way, but training them how to do that without trying to take over, without looking down on them, etc., etc. So it comes from.
Well, I read.
It seems to be.
I read some meme yesterday. I read a meme. So this ties in very nicely what you're saying. I read a meme yesterday on Facebook, and it was about how this guy, who it turned up to his ex-wife's house, with some gifts for her for her birthday, from his two sons. And the question, I can't remember how it went. It was, it's one of those kind of like page things, and it just said, people asking, why if you're doing that for your ex-wife? Because at the end of the day, it's the impact of what's happening to my sons, and I'm trying to help develop these boys into men, and if they see me treating my ex-wife badly, then that suggests and I thought it's a very, very good point. And I think what you're talking about here is very much it's very much responsibility of parenting. I think it's very much on the part of parenting, and I think where it fails is when people ditch responsibility regarding what they need to do with regards to parenting and society. Here's I'm just going to lead off from this a little bit, but this is an example, right? Yeah. This is one thing that frustrates me, is that there always seems to be this accepted understanding in society that somebody else needs to be solving all my problems.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, that has grown, I think. Yeah.
In a massive way. Like, I don't know, something I'm entitled, or something like this has happened, so therefore I need to either have some sort of support for it, or I should have. And you kind of think, hang on, where does the line get drawn with regards to how people look after themselves, or therefore rely on a government to do everything for them?
I think you've jumped into politics again.
I'm happy to talk about politics. Maybe I'm more political than I realised.
Yeah. Because that's an interesting. The point you're making there is against the welfare state, or against too much of the welfare state, I suppose you could.
It's not. It's not. No, be careful, because that's not quite what I'm saying.
Oh.
No, what I'm saying, it's almost like this expectation.
Yeah.
I saw a council thing. Wirral Council put something out yesterday, and it was to do with the thing when the weather's hot. Of course, they've only got a finite number of people out collecting rubbish from the bins. There's been a lot of stuff on local social media about around here, how people are making everything really messy with litter and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, yeah, I get the point. And people, take your rubbish home. I mean, I remember saying that, in the 70s. I even remember the little icon of a bin and stuff. Take your rubbish home, with people whinging about it. And people, really kind of think it's somebody else's responsibility. And you kind of think, hang on. That's not about the welfare system. That's about a bit of a screwed up head about saying this isn't my concern. And actually, no, mate, it's everyone's concern, and it's certainly yours. It's about you taking responsibility for what you do, and not on the sense of, look, if something doesn't look like it's gone quite right for me, I'm entitled. I should be supported through it. And yet you kind of say, well, hang on. If you go and compare us to a different country, where if you've got a pair of shoes, you're in a damn fine place, and then you go down the transportation model. Want your shoes, then it's a bicycle, motorbike, car. How you can improve your life and stuff. And you think, blimey, the majority of people in this country have just got it so easy, in a sense. And then you suddenly think, I'm entitled to something. Well, something hasn't worked out right in my favour. And you
Yes,
kind of think it's somebody else needs to fix that for me, because that's how the world should be.
The world doesn't know you were living.
Absolutely.
Now, I mentioned the welfare state because too much of a welfare state, like what sometimes called the nanny state, where the state takes the place of your parents and looks after you.
Yeah.
So you know that if you don't work hard enough, you'll get looked after. You know that that there's not just a safety net, but sometimes you're actually incentivized not to go and get a job. And so because of the way our welfare state is set up at the moment, in some cases you end up losing money by getting a job. That's just the way that they've set it up.
Yeah.
But overall, it just the sad thing is that humans go where the incentives are. If you pay someone for doing nothing, then many people will choose that option rather than getting up and going to work. And so therefore, it's not that you should. I would say you shouldn't have the welfare state at all if we're going to go in politics. Apart from a very small safety net so you don't want people to starve to death. But on the other hand, you do want people to have an incentive to go to work. So that's how it was originally set up. So you've had drift. The welfare state has got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the tax burden has got bigger and bigger and bigger. And suddenly, we're in a position
but then
where we're talking about too much politics, maybe.
Yeah, well, no, but I will just make this point on it, because I know that this is an issue, and it's almost. I mean, I don't know how this is resolved. I think is it means testing when you individually test people specifically?
Yeah, that's right. Means testing.
Right. So. I think the key, the thing that gets born out of this is what happens is that the governments or authorities say, right, okay, we've got this issue, it's blowing the budget, we're chucking all this stuff at welfare, all right, we need to do something. And you end up with some of the most deprived people falling through cracks or holes and ending up in a bad situation. Which then, of course, that gets blown out of proportion as well, because, there was a story a few years back. I can't remember the writer, far left writer, wrote something which kind of instigated that a government very much like this. I can't remember what the story was, and I thought, that's ridiculous, isn't it? They've picked up on a specific single instance of, and I think it was fictional anyway, or actually it could have been true, of what had happened to someone who kind of fell through the cracks. And I think the problem is it's the process. And how do you actually go through this process of finding out exactly where people in your society that you're trying to look after really do need the genuine handouts, and where people in your society you're trying to promote to get to work, and all of those sort of things, who aren't doing the right thing, and even those people that are perhaps working and still claiming benefits and all of that sort of stuff. I think part of it's just down to human corruption. Yeah.
Well, yes.
And you're always kind of going to...
It's down to human nature.
Yeah.
You see, things like having a big welfare state, communism and socialism, these sort of methods of thought, they seem to spring from a good place, from wanting everyone to have a fair amount. But what it does is it doesn't... What these systems don't understand, I think, is human nature. And so whatever you incentivize, that's what people do.
Yeah.
What we do, and so therefore you end up with eventually the country spends more and more money on it, and eventually goes bankrupt.
Yeah.
Now, that's probably getting too serious. But if for fans of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, to take it to something trivial instead.
Yeah.
They said in that. Looking at the galaxy, looking at the planets eventually, when the society is dying out, reach the shoe event horizon.
Yeah.
Because everyone gets so depressed, they start looking down at their shoes. And they have to keep changing their shoes, so they have more shoe shops until every shop is a shoe shop and the economy collapses.
Yeah.
The shoe event horizon. It's got nothing to do with that. I just thought it would stop us talking too much politics. And I thought it was funny at the time.
Yeah.
When it was written in 1978 or something.
Yeah, from about, yeah. All right, well, no, it is an interesting question, but I mean, that's the thing I understand about socialism is that, this conceptual idea, well, when did it go wrong? Because when someone says, well, I don't have to do anything, or he's getting more than me and he's doing nothing. Whatever. Let's move on then. So, we've got another question here.
The question.
Have I pulled my... No, I'm still alive. Okay.
Yes. You look alive.
Yeah, I'm still alive. So,
yeah.
what's something terrifying that we've all come to accept as a fact of life?
Yeah. Well, I've got an answer to that. That as I was thinking of this today, I happened to think before I had this question. I thought of this. I didn't write the question; someone else did. But I'd already thought of this. I was walking down the street, and I dodged between some cars and walked across the street. Right? And I thought, that car, that's a ton of metal speeding towards me, maybe 25 miles an hour. Okay, that's not fast, but if it hit me, that could have broken my legs at least. And if it had gone over me, and if they then reversed to finish the job,
yeah.
But you think, it's very dangerous because they're heavy things travelling at high speed.
Yeah.
And yet we just nip between them.
Yeah.
And I then remembered, didn't happen then. Before there was a chap in one of those electric scooters, like the ones like a kid's scooter.
Yeah, they're quite new on this.
Zipping along.
New on the scene, aren't they?
Zipping along at about the same speed as a car. So he was going over 25, maybe 30 miles an hour. And I mean, the brakes, they're quite small wheels. I can't imagine that the brakes are brilliant on those. Yet he was just...
You'll probably be surprised,
happy,
but yeah.
Quite happy moving along.
Didn't
look worried.
30 miles an hour, when the first train was invented, and they thought they were going to crank a train up to 30 miles an hour. They think you wouldn't survive the speed.
Yeah, speed it's really the speed is something we just accept. They didn't used to be, as you say, didn't used to be the case. When there was the original, here's just a short story. It's an interesting story. The original great train robbery was in the 19th century. There's the great train robbery which happened in the 60s sometime.
Yeah.
But the original one, which was first called the Great Train Robbery, happened in the late 19th century. And there was this guy who thought of himself as brilliant, organised it. And possibly he was. When he got a group of people together, they said, we can steal the money from this train. We've got to get into the part of the train with all the money. So you get on the roof of the train. And he got one of his accomplices to try it first, ridiculous planning, who probably fell off and died and was all mangled. But he still went ahead with it.
Yeah.
Now he was caught, and he went on, and we have the trial transcript, so we know what he said. But he said, it was asked, why basically did you do this? Because you saw what happened. Because trains go so much faster than we're used to with carts and horses. And he said, no, there's no effect. Because there's no problem because the air will hold me on. The air moving will hold me on to the train because of the Bernoulli effect, and which is when a air or another fluid goes off to something, it goes over the top of something, it presses down on it, so therefore keeping him on the roof. Well, it would do that with maybe leaves or something. Well, not with a massive great bloke. You're going to be knocked off. But he thought that it wasn't dangerous because he would just roll off. He didn't know the effects of speed. He misunderstood them. The reason the guy fell off, it was going, say, 40 miles an hour or something, and he fell off the roof. Therefore, that's what happens to you.
Yeah, but I thought you were going to say he got hit by a bridge or something.
No, he didn't fall off. He was found, so this is nothing to do with the rest of it, but it's just interesting what happened with the story, is what happened to him. Because he went into the court case, he explained, he was a very arrogant guy, talking about the Bernoulli effect and whatever, he got it all wrong, but they didn't find the money, or at least not all of it. I think they found some of it. And on the way out of the court case, he escaped and was never found again.
All right.
He won. Anyway, so I just thought it was just interesting. But
interesting. But
he didn't understand speed, which was the point I was making.
See, you're talking about downward force here.
Yes.
All right. And I remember years and years ago, by my mate, whose dad used to build Formula 3 racing cars. He said that if you could get a racing car on a ceiling, and you could get it up to 30 miles an hour, it'd stick.
Yes.
Because of the downward force of the fin on the car would mean that so you could drive it round the ceiling, and I thought that's really cool. Kate just said that other things that I suppose to concern yourself that are terrifying that we all have to accept are old people on their mobility scooters.
Yes, they are quite scary sometimes. Yes, there's a fair bit of weight there coming towards you.
Yeah,
with a mobility scooter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there. I mean, other things that are scary. I mean,
I don't know whether I've just stopped being scared the older I've got.
Well, one thing that's scary to me is lifts, because there's a very few occasions you get into a lift and the lift isn't there. But if your momentum is you're walking into the lift, then you will drop down the shaft to your doom.
Yeah.
And that does happen to people occasionally. But I suppose because
you really need to be looking where you're going, though, shouldn't you? Really?
No, I remember this being said to me, and I think I saw a film. This is one of these arty films because it's done in a funny way. Someone at the end of the film falls down the lift shaft, and it cuts directly to a lump of mincemeat.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't a dead body; it just cuts to. But it was somehow even more horrific because it did that. But anyway, it might. So that comes. Yes, I don't want that to happen to me. So every time I get in a lift, I look to make sure the lift
is in fact there.
Yes.
See, do you remember the old?
I remember it's there.
Do you remember the old? What was it? The Roadrunner thing, or it's something along those lines, or maybe it could have been Pink Panther, when the lift was falling down the shaft and he was in it, and he'd just step out just at the right time before it hit the deck.
Yeah, well, I
remember those.
That. Yeah,
that's quite funny, wasn't
it? Yeah. So one of them was always stepping off things that were falling, and as long as he stepped off at the right moment.
I don't know. What's something terrifying that we've all come to accept?
Well, that's two things I've named. Shouldn't they be terrifying? Accidentally falling down a hole.
Well, I don't know. I suppose that's. The
immense speed of things.
That's your perception, is it? What's something terrifying that you've come to accept as a fact of life? Do you think? Oh, right. So I think that. Let's go back to the speed thing. So you're saying that the fact that people have adjusted to the car. I'll tell you what. Here's an interesting one. So do you remember the actor Harold Lloyd?
Yes.
Early 20th century.
Very impressive stunts.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin sort of era. Maybe just a little bit after that. I've seen some. I
think they were contemporary.
Yeah, sort of stuff. Women apparently used to faint in cinemas watching him do his stunts. You know, there's a famous picture of him hanging from a clock.
Yes.
It looks like he's up this huge skyscraper. And I've seen the images, actually, the shots that have been used to take the actual, very, very clever videography. And he's like literally 2 foot off a piece of wood. There's a board there, all this sort of stuff. It's all very quite safe. But, compared...
But he did do some very dangerous stuff.
Yes, I'm sure some of them were, yeah. But the point is that people's fear factors then were much... would it be higher or lower? I don't know how you'd explain it, but people were much more easily frightened.
And now in cinemas we need things to be more and more realistic.
We've become desensitised, haven't we?
I think I'm right in saying that the first public showing of a film was of a train coming towards you, and that people ran out in fear.
Really?
In France,
I think I've seen that. I think I've seen something along those lines. But we have become very desensitised, haven't we? And even when you look at things like movies now, so I remember when Die Hard came out, and it was like, they had to do like a count of the number of people that were shot.
Yes.
It's like, he's killed 24 people in that film. That's outrageous.
Yes.
Why is it not banned? And then you get to Terminator, and it's like 2,500 people got shot. And it's like...
And now it's seen as, how many people got shot. That's not nearly enough. And the John Wick films, like the ante, how many can he kill in one shot?
Absolutely, yeah.
Not one gunshot, but one screen shot.
I understand what you mean. But that's the point, and we've all become very desensitised to it. So we're not frightened by it.
Yes, and the violence, the violence, you got the death toll, but the violence is in films, you expect to be a bit more realism about it now. You used to have the old. I mean, they still do, depending on how much threat they want to put on you, depending on the certification of the film. But they tend to put more realism into, what it looks like to be shot and this sort of thing, which is that's probably a good thing because it might dissuade people from trying to shoot people. Other than maybe it's a good, maybe that's what they wanted to see. Who knows? But, difficult to say. But I think you get desensitized to violence in film, and we talked about sex earlier. There's a slow drip feed of more and more sexual morals being blown to one side
as well
in movies. Yeah, because it used to be the case. There was official censors board which came in. Now in older movies it wasn't like that. In the times of what's his name, Valentino, is that right? They didn't have such things. And who was the old movie star? Mae West, who would wear sort of what at the time would be raunchy outfits. But then when it becomes sort of lots of people seeing them, you end up people saying, well, we've got to have some sort of censorship. And there used to be a rule. I think maybe it was just Hollywood films, but there's certainly just a rule that if you had a man and a woman in the room together, and there's a bed there, at least one of them has to have 1 foot on the floor at all times.
Yeah, I remember.
So they're not actually in bed with them.
Yeah.
Yet things have changed now. That they're happy to sort of hop into bed at a moment's notice.
Absolutely, but if it makes you feel any better, what was it? Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
It was the first film to actually have a toilet in it.
Yes.
You weren't allowed to show a lavatory in movies.
Yeah.
Because, and it's like, what?
So we had a whole raft of movies over many years. We had all the characters were constipated.
Yeah.
I mean that's look. This is where we saved the world.
Well, no, maybe Alfred Hitchcock saved the world.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, he was a great director. I would expect that from him.
Yes, he was. When I went to study media,
I don't like the movie Psycho particularly.
But well, I studied it, so it was interesting because when I went to media college. After I decided to get out of IT and start getting into film and media and stuff, interestingly, we had to do a review of Alfred Hitchcock as an auteur, and that was Psycho, that was Birds, it was Rear Window. Actually, that's
my favourite. Really.
Yeah, Rear Window is very good. Maybe it's more to do with the actor that's in it, more so than anything else.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
What's his name?
He takes his part lovely, yeah. Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, that's it, Jimmy Stewart. Yes.
Grace... Whoever plays his girlfriend.
I bought them on DVD
Kelly?
at one, but no,
not Kelly. I thought it was great. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll look it up in a second.
Good.
Yes.
But, yes.
But very good film, but it is... they're very interesting films and very interesting watching...
But the reason I didn't like Psycho, for fans of Psycho thinking, how can he not know... that scene's very good. The shower scene.
The shower scene, yeah.
You get across the violence without actually seeing it. Very clever, very cleverly done, very effective. But the movie as a whole it just doesn't work in terms of the pacing of the plots. You start off with some quite good development, get across the character, and then you build up your scary scene. Are our heroes looking into the original murder going to be killed? And then you end with a long lecture, a long exposition of why it happened.
I thought they did.
That's the end of the film.
But I think
you think, well, what?
Yeah.
Oh, shut up a minute, will you?
Yeah.
And this chap just goes on, and so it ruins for me because of that pacing. You end up with a lecture on psychology, and you think, really?
Well, I thought it did it quite well. To be honest, if all the weakest films, I thought The Birds was the weakest.
I didn't like that. It doesn't seem to have a plot.
No, The Birds against everyone. Yeah. But I actually thought Psycho. I think I'd seen Psycho before.
I mean, it's seen as a masterpiece.
Absolutely.
Probably an outlier, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was interesting studying Hitchcock. But I think the thing that really frustrated me about that was people were like bigging up Hitchcock, and I'm thinking, yeah, but there's like so many other people on set. You got a cameraman. Even things like the Vertigo was a good film where they used the dolly zoom So you know when they did that shot, and they use it in Jaws as well. So it's like they push the dolly forward with the camera and zoom the lens at the same time. Yes. So you get this really weird effect, like you're drawing it out. And they do that, I think, when they're looking down. When Jimmy Stewart is on the... Is it Jimmy Stewart on the roof in Vertigo?
It's either him or Cary Grant. I can't remember.
Is it Cary Grant or was he North by Northwest?
Well, Cary Grant is in North by Northwest.
Yeah, but he could be that... Right, okay. I might have to look that up, but yeah.
But yes.
Oh,
is this a... So...
we've gone off on a plot, but yeah.
Is this a niche... I don't know. I mean, people... I mean, a lot of people like movies, don't they?
I love films, and, you know... I think, and I didn't realise this when I first picked up a lens to start doing all this sort of stuff. How addicted to films I was, you know, and how much I kind of did. But I think it's because I have problems reading. So I found my other medium, a bit like Trevor saying, "Yeah, I wait for it to come out of the movies." It's the same way, you know.
Yes, well, it's interesting because I do like movies, and I'm interested in how they're made. And see if anyone agrees with this. You see, I like watching movies, and I used to try and go to the... I like plays as well, but I used to go to movies and go, say, at least once a month I would go to the movies all the time. But at some point I was going every week. And I like to watch the film. But I noticed that people... Again, are sort of reacting to the film. Again, like if there's a shock, they move like this. What are you doing? And I'm always aware when I'm watching a movie of the edge of the screen. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not in the movie. Where other people seem to get so absorbed in it that they...
What, so you've never had a film make you jump?
I suppose it must have happened, but just generally it doesn't. I mean...
Yeah, I think it must be, probably depends on the film. Sometimes they do that, don't they? They try the plot, and you know something's about to happen.
Well, yes, I guess.
I mean,
usually I know it's going to happen. So
you figured it out.
If you've watched enough films, you know that. But yes, and people get very emotional. I mean, I get the emotions in the film, but I'm not so caught up in them that that it's affecting me too much. So I just know I
think that might just be part of your specialness.
Yes, I think. Yeah, I have this.
The specialness that's Pete.
But is it am I the same in real life? I guess a little bit. Yes, I tend to be a little bit detached. But it's
emotionally,
yeah. But it's interesting that in movies, I still enjoy it though. I really enjoy them. Whereas in books, I can get completely absorbed in it.
So yeah, and like I say, it's not that if I had the ability to read, you know. I think that's the disaster for me, is that if I had the ability to read and absorb what I was reading, then maybe I could share that feeling. Mm-hmm. I think the effort I have to go into reading is sort of shocking.
Yeah.
There are certain things. I mean, I think the thing is I can look at text and I can read it, but then I'm always like the detail. I'm always reading it, and yet I know that Revo can read through and skim read stuff and get a feel for what and I think that must be another kind of art or something.
Skim reading, I remember having,
I suppose, as long as it works and you haven't missed out some really critical points. They're useful if you're having difficulty getting to sleep. Well, yeah, sleeping isn't one of my fortes either, Kate. Yeah, I mean it's
reading is. I used to read before I went to bed.
Yeah.
It's just an eyesight thing now. I get tired and I can't see properly.
You can't read it, yeah.
Yeah. So, I will usually say listen to something. Maybe listen to a book.
Yeah. See, I bought a few audiobooks before, and actually, our eldest lad, one of his mates, he does a lot of voiceover for audiobooks.
Oh, is it? Yes.
So he's doing that sort of stuff.
I mean, I can also, because I just got used to the voice. One of my Kindle machines just reads it out automatically to you in a slightly electronic voice, and I've just got used to the voice, so it's all right. But whoever's reading, after a bit, I think I'll make this a bit faster. So I normally have it 1.5 times.
Yeah. See, there's a Google plugin for Chrome called Speak Aloud.
Yeah.
And I've got that for those TLDR.
Oh, movies. Oh, movies are good. Yeah.
Totally lost now. No, it's the old one. I mean, movies.
Movies, how you get to see. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think that is.
I thought you meant books, then, Kate. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Movies can help you get to sleep. And it may be a movie
But
that you enjoy.
It depends on how action-packed it is. Because if you're on the edge of your seat, you're hardly going to sleep, are you?
But if it's a movie you like but you've seen before, it can be quite a comforting thing you go to see. But
that's an interesting comment. There was when I was going through certain issues, if you will, and my anxiety was particularly high for long durations. There was a particular film I used to watch over and over again. Oh, yeah. That's really weird. Yeah.
What is it?
It was actually deemed a pretty rubbish film. It was called The Core, and it was basically
I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, it was a group of scientist-y type people who had to get to the core of the Earth and save the planet. And I thought it was quite a good film, and it always made me feel quite. It usually made me feel more relaxed. Yeah, I've had anxiety where I've been watching something and it's just heightened by anxiety, and I've had to turn it off.
Yeah.
Do you get affected by that? Do you ever get that, or is it just me?
I think if there's an emotion in a film, and you're already having that, but you have a sort of a synchronicity to it. So
it invokes this kind of unhappy or not. Yeah. Not a sadness, like, if you watch a film which has the motive in the film is to make you feel sorry for a character, or or that sort of. It's when I think that's quite that's actually making me feel really uncomfortable.
As we're talking about movies, here's the thing that some people say you pleb when I say this, but it might be when I watch a movie, I want to be entertained by it.
Yeah.
And I want there to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
And if I come to the end, see, my view is they haven't come up with a happy ending. People say that's great, they've been true to the story. I said no, they just weren't clever enough with the story. They should have been able to come up with a happy ending.
There is a sense of disappointment when you get so involved with the character and they kill him off at the end, and you go, "What? That's not supposed. That's not how I envisaged this to end."
And I think no, you've got it wrong.
Yeah,
I think to the person, you got that wrong. That shouldn't have happened. You should have done it differently.
You got that wrong, even though it's your film. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I paid my money to see this.
Yeah,
I want it changed.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I think I like entertainment. I go to films for entertainment, and the people have this idea of art. Right? So the film is a form of art. So therefore, it's not just entertainment. It's the artist is expressing himself. Now I'm a bit cynical of that. I say, look, he can express himself all over the place. I don't care, but for me, I want him to entertain. Yeah. I realised what that sounded like as I was saying it. But I want. I'm not interested in his deeper feelings. I want him to entertain me. So get on with your job. That's what I say. So if I hire a film,
Did we still hire movies?
Yeah. Because you can just stream them for a few days sometimes.
Oh, I see, on Prime or something. Yeah.
I still always look at the end first.
Do you?
Yeah, I look near the end. Oh, is it going to be the sort of ending I like? Yeah, okay, then I'll watch the movie.
That sounds bonkers.
I know. I never do this. I think. No, who was it who said? I think it's my mum. I've referred to my mum. My mum reads the end of the books first. See what happens. I think it was her. Someone said that to me recently, and I thought,
what does chat make of that?
Read the end of the book. See if you want to read it. Here's a Freudian slip. It's either my mother or my wife said that to me, and I can't remember which.
That is weird.
Yes.
Read the end of a book.
Yes, but reading the end of a book is a bit strange. Yes, I mean I don't.
Yeah,
I suppose in a book, you see, I'd probably flick through.
That's made
worth reading.
Okay, that's made me think about something. I think because it's like, what time are we at now? We've been streaming 2 hours 15. Right, so I'm going to pull this back to the gaming thing, and I think we'll leave the rest of this stuff for a next episode.
Yeah. Let's go back to the gaming. Close out with that.
I'll close out on the gaming thing. One of the biggest issues, and we'll go back to the concept of what is the big gaming things at the moment, which is like Call of Duty, this thing where you fight until you're the last man standing, right? So I don't know if you've heard of this concept of hacking in games. Have you heard about this? Right.
No.
So hacking in games is where you can use additional software to help you aim.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So it means that you can kill opponents using additional software rather than skill. All right.
Yes.
And also you can use things like wall hacks, so you can find players who are behind walls that you couldn't normally see, but the software can.
Yes.
Yeah. That is a mad spoiler. Absolutely. This is exactly what's brought me round to this.
Yes.
So, hacking, apparently in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is the game that is very popular at the minute, very popular first-person shooter battle royale game. Apparently, Activision, who is the company that is part of the thing that owns all this, they managed to ban 60,000 hackers. All right, and don't get me wrong, there are millions of people playing this.
Yes.
All right, but everyone's been whinging about how this company is not really taking it seriously, the hackers.
Right.
Because it's wrecking people's games. And especially if you're a streamer who is streaming content and you get into a lobby and you find that 3 people in the lobby are all hacking, so you can't win. It's almost like, you know. So this is one of the things I struggle with, this conceptual idea of like, hey, why would you read the end of a book? Because, you know, you ruin the ending for yourself. And why is it that people cheat? What is the gain? If
why are you cheating in a game? Yes, I don't know.
Like that. Now, I can understand somebody who might want to do something.
Unless you're going to win lots of money.
Yes, if there's something like that, you can kind of almost understand it. Although I wouldn't do that either. Yeah, I'd have an issue with that.
Sure. Yes, it's wrong.
It's wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's fraudulent. Whatever.
Yes.
But I don't understand in a game where at the end of it, it doesn't really matter, and you're not going to win anything, and you might have some sort of like death to kill ratio or whatever. This is what they say: how many times you die versus the number of times you kill somebody else. So you might have a very high death to kill ratio, which makes you look good on stats, but it doesn't do anything for you.
No.
And actually, where's the challenge in that?
I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the fact that they banned 60,000 people,
yes,
says there's a lot of hackers out there.
Yes.
And a lot of hackers. Why? What is it that goes through somebody's head to say, I'm going to get on this game with loads of the people and I'm going to just cheat?
Yes. I once cheated in a race.
Oh yeah.
A physical race. There was a good reason. Well, there was a reason for it. We decided to go.
Was this a running thing?
Yeah, running around Sutton Coldfield Park. Is it just called Sutton Park? Anyway, near Birmingham, and huge area there. They're having a race round it, and I went with my friend Mark, and he or maybe it was me, got the time wrong for the start. So when we got there, people were already making their way around the course. They'd already gone far. But it was a loop, and we knew the park, so we just headed across the middle.
Yeah.
Ended up in the first. We didn't win. That would have been too much to go. But we came in the first, few or so. And raced to the end. And, you didn't get anything for it though. So we thought, well, there's no point doing it and then arriving when there's no one else around.
Yeah.
So
I remember that being a story from my dad. Yeah, he told me years and years ago. Is that my dad grew up in West Derby in Liverpool, and I think this, if I remember the story right, he used to go to a specific school that was run by monks or something like that.
Nuns?
No,
Really?
monks or something.
Monks.
Like that. Yeah, so the brothers such and such. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a school that he would have gone to then, and I remember him saying how he cheated on his cross country. And the only reason that they caught him out, and it was him and 2 other mates, and he ended up with 6 of the best, is because he managed to get back before the PE teacher did.
Right.
Yeah, which was like, that was impossible. Yeah. So fancy getting caught out for that.
Yes.
But yeah,
don't overtake.
Cheaters.
Yes. Yeah, unless you're playing the card game Cheat, in which you.
It's a game called Cheaters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
you have to lie about what cards you've got.
Actually, I think we need to finish on some sort of like how we can save the world from cheaters.
Well, I mean, the thing is though about are we saving them or are we going to exonerate them in some way? I mean, they make games more interesting, trying to find out who the cheater is.
Well, that there's an interesting point there, because sometimes when I'm watching some streamers and they know that someone's hacking and they can tell, and they manage to take out the hacker, that is a big win for them because they've managed to take out the hacker. Yeah, but
the hacker has improved the game.
Well, no, not really. I mean, that is like flipping it. It's like result, and then they can type in. You can report players. You can say that they were hacking or cheating or whatever. But it is interesting why people do that. I can only put it down to a low self-confidence. It's a low self-worth. They need something to tell them that they're worthy.
Or is it? I mean, it could be that. It could be the old sense of entitlement thing you were talking about. I have to win. I'm entitled to this win, so I'll cheat to get it. I don't know. What is the motivation for cheating in sport? I guess it's...
Well, in sport. I mean, sport, I suppose it's... well,
if there's
is
money...
Is it kudos and finance?
Well, if there's not money there, then it's if you're if who you are is tied up with that, I have to be the best, then you might be.
Yeah, but
then have to lie to yourself.
Yeah, but
because you're not.
Yeah, but
people lie to themselves.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe we'll finish on this point. But can you convince yourself of a lie, or do you deep down know it? Do you deep down know, no matter what you say to someone, you say, no. And can you actually convince yourself? Can you tell something so
like
often?
Ben Johnson winning the 100 metres.
Yeah, but can you tell so many people a lie so many times that you'll actually believe it? Is that possible?
Yeah. Well, I think you can in the moment. You can, but it will come back to haunt you. That's what I think. So in the moment, you can do it and convince yourself that it's true.
All right. Well,
that's my theory.
Maybe we'll leave chat. Leave that with that and chat then. So, do you think it's possible that you can convince yourself of a lie so much that you actually believe it to be true? Mm-hmm. And we'll pick your brains on that next week.
I think we've thoroughly saved the world this time.
You think so?
Really well, yeah. In fact, so much so there may be nothing to do next week.
Oh no, we've still got half a page of stuff.
Oh yes.
In fact,
but also, even if we save the world, just think about it. Then we're off until next week. People are going to mess it up again. So, you have to come back each week.
But then, as I posted in my comment, I thought, maybe we'll speculate and get it wrong anyway, and turn all the rights into wrongs. So maybe some weeks we'll get it wrong, and some weeks we'll get it right.
It's possible.
And maybe actually we might be breaking the world even more.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day,
we could be a force for bad in the world.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's just fun, and it gives us a chance to kick back on a Thursday night and have a bit of a crack.
Well, that's a possibility.
Anyway, I'm thinking we might love to look to getting guests in on this program. What do you reckon?
Well, we could do with a few guests. That'd be good.
It'd be good to get
extra banter.
This big screen here. We could get some people. I don't know who yet. I think we should just get somebody in to have a bit of a natter with us.
Well, they'll be very big there, so they have to be very attractive people.
Well, what? So you can wolf whistle like you're on the scaffold?
No, I'm thinking of our viewers.
What?
If they're going to have this large... I mean, for very attractive people, obviously I mean everyone who's been in the chat today.
Well, we could do that, couldn't we? Maybe put them in a little screen. Look at that. When do we actually look normal in this virtual set? How's that? At least you never make me fall asleep. Thanks, Kate. I appreciate that.
We're not like a good movie then.
But then a bad movie may fall... I don't know.
There I was thinking we were quite cinematic at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
I feel like in this show, like I'm in Star Trek, with the console.
Yes, I agree.
Warp speed.
So, should we bid you good night? Let you guys get off to sleep. Kate, you can put your head into a book. I think I'm going to have a quick cup of tea. I've got some work to do tonight before tomorrow. And thanks for racing back, Pete, to be on the show.
Yes, I made it.
I think
but not in time.
We need to do our intro to play out to, don't we?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Let's have the intro as an outro.
Intro as outro.
It's always nice to see the end at the beginning anyway.
See everyone next week.
Bye.